Do you like comic books, video games, movies, and television? Are you way more interested in fictional superheroes than actual human beings or real life? Do you like listening to people discuss these topics for roughly an hour or two at a time?
Well, if you liked when this asshole did it alone, you're gonna love me.
This is the intro to our podcast, ain't it? What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Bat in the Hat podcast, where we dive deep into all things nerd. My name is Commissioner James Gordon, and with me, as always, is Matt. Just Matt. What's up, Matt?
Hey, Commish, how are things with you this fine afternoon?
What's up? For the people at home, this is our third time doing this intro.
No.
we
don't do that. It's all live. Unfiltered.
Yeah, we're professionals.
Yes, we are.
We have a special guest this week, hailing all the way from my job is Tim. What's up, Tim?
Hey man, I'm good. Thank you for having me on here.
Hey, bro. Thank you. Really glad to have you.
Yeah,
Tim is a fun person to have around the office because we get into a lot of debates about comic book shit, and I finally was like, man, you got to come on and talk to these people about some stuff.
Yes. Thank you very much for joining us, Tim.
God, I love Batman so much. I'm not.
Well, we actually don't talk about Batman. We don't really like Batman.
Yeah, we never talk about Batman
really
even a little bit.
DC
We're mostly
comics.
a Marvel show, so
Yes. I like true crime, so I don't even know why I'm here.
I don't know. I thought this was about Jeffrey Dahmer.
Dr. Seuss show, Batman.
we got a really cool show happening this week. We are doing the Bat in the Hat, right? The DCEU.
Yes.
And I'm excited because here's the thing, is that we don't have enough comic book fans nor actual comic book people writing comic book movies, right? We have a lot of this studio intervening, and we have a lot of Warner Brothers fucking everything up. Marvel has somehow cracked this code of how to make a really great universe, and DC was like, we're not going to follow that at all. And then we got Justice League. So we thought that we could do better. And you know what? After seeing what some of you guys are bringing to the table, I think we can.
I wouldn't say better. I was confident that I could do different. Like,
right. Right.
Should we explain what we mean when we say the Bat in the Hat writes the DCEU for the listener?
No, I'm pretty sure they're not fucking stupid. But I'm
just not implying that they're stupid.
No, yeah. So, you're absolutely right. So, we're not going to tell full-on stories here, guys. But we did want to take, movies, like our ideas, what we wanted to see in the future, and we all kind of did it separately. We didn't share ideas. And although I'm sure there's a lot of overlap because me and Matt have been talking about this for God knows how long. Yeah. But
I swear to God, if either one of y'all's version has Batman in it, I will freak out.
You better not. Yeah, no. So it, obviously we didn't write screenplays here, but we did write enough that we wanted to really kind of explain where our universe would take shape, or like how it would be different or bigger or better. And it may sound cocky, but if I'm being totally honest, there's a lot of like what Warner Brothers has done that, and I think there is some good that came out of it. Again, Man of Steel to me is a fantastic movie. I loved Ben Affleck as Batman, itself before they wrote him into whatever he did in Justice League, which again I take purely into direction and writing, and I think obviously Gal Gadot was fantastic as Wonder Woman. Momoa was great as Aquaman, and I think even the Flash and Cyborg were perfectly cast. Well, maybe not perfectly cast, but Ray Fisher, who played Cyborg Man, he was fantastic.
Yeah,
My point is, there was a lot of good that came out of those movies, but they just fell short. Am I wrong, guys?
Go ahead, Tim.
I mean, I don't want to go on a whole rant.
Please do.
It's just I love DC a lot, but just these movies are just so frustrating. I don't know. Just thinking about Batman v Superman for starters. God, I can go all day about that.
Uh-oh.
Right.
Jesus. And then Justice League, Man of Steel, you killed Zod. What is that? It's not Superman.
He is visibly upset right now. Just for everybody listening, he is starting to sweat.
So I definitely am. So, and you guys know, anybody who listens to the show knows that I'm a lot more easily entertained by these movies. So I didn't have nearly as big a problem. Like, I've probably seen Suicide Squad like 13 times just because it's so bad, but it's fun, right? It's a fun movie to watch.
Yeah.
It's a good movie in its own right. It's just a terrible movie, like if that makes any sense.
Yes.
And it's kind of the same with Batman v Superman. I have a lot of issues with it, but I still go back and watch it because it's the closest interpretation of me I've gotten of seeing my favorite heroes, on screen together. That really, at least somewhat looks great. And we can't take away from the fact, honestly, that these are still visual feats of CGI and what they're able to do, regardless of mustache, is what they have done and been able to give us. We never really thought possible. Not until I think like Transformers. Like Transformers, I remember being the first movie that came out with that level of CGI that I flipped shit at.
Well, sadly, a lot of these will probably be forgotten because they're gonna probably abolish everything they have done.
No, well, and so forgotten, probably not, but will they be completely overshadowed? Absolutely, you're right. So
Like that warehouse scene we all know from BVS where Batman just goes in there and wreaks havoc.
So it's such a
all
great.
these
That's
people.
the thing. It's such a great fight scene.
But it's at the
he
end of the
fucking
movie.
Murders. He's just straight murdering people.
Not really.
He literally, the guy's head exploded in the back of the wall.
No, not in the theatrical release.
Fuck
He just
the
hit his head.
theatrical release.
He just hit his head. He got a boo-boo.
Yeah, he got a boo-boo.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I guess you're right, because I do remember being more shocked. That was only in the...
Yeah, in the director's cut.
Yeah,
or
in the
whatnot,
director's cut.
That's when his head explodes on the wall. There's
Yeah.
a blood streak, and it's awesome, and I love everything about it. But
So-
he does a lot of the implied, I didn't necessarily kill you, like when he kicks the guys into the grenade and they blow up.
Right.
And, that's not his fault. You shouldn't have you shouldn't have tried to use a grenade on Batman.
And so I'm kind of with you on that, and I swear we're going to go down a rabbit hole, but I'm kind of with you in that respect of Batman, at least that Batman. So he went after the Dark Knight Returns Batman, right?
Sure.
It's obvious. That's a grizzled, old, angry Batman who's just tired. And I would have got that, but they didn't give us enough character development to really show us that before he started killing people. Sure. So that's where it fell short.
Well, to round out this part of the segment, because like you said, we're going down with
Rabbit
Alice
hole.
right now. I agree, because I thought it was a cool idea, but the fact that they essentially did the Dark Knight Returns first, prior to the Justice League forming,
right,
was...
Yeah.
It was kind of an odd... I get it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. You're trying to start it with their
always
confrontation.
felt really screwy to have old Batman meet, brand new Flash. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I could dig the fact that they're let's start it out with Batman and Superman having a confrontation.
Right.
But they should have done that with a younger Batman.
But, look at
It would've been
Justice League
awesome.
War. Man, that was such a great way for them
Yeah,
all to
yeah.
meet, I think.
Yeah, no,
and
it's fantastic.
and I'm sorry, but when we have a team up of this magnitude that we're building to and the Lantern is not involved... to me, it automatically felt short.
Well, also, when the Justice League forms, I want Batman to be on his A game. I don't want him to be like, God, I'm getting really old.
Yeah,
it's
I
no,
agree.
save that for later, dude.
Yeah,
I
I
need
don't
you to be top tier
well,
Batman.
and again, because Zack Snyder was planning on killing Batman in Justice League,
Yeah.
and if they had killed him and did you not know that, Tim?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah,
he might not have been able to take
his
that.
plan, his original. If we had Snyder's Justice League, Batman would have died by the end of it, and whether they did a second resurrection thing or whatnot, I don't know. But what I do know is that
Go get a mother box. We know how to do this.
Yeah, we've done this before. The point is that if we had and I'm not gonna sit here and just shit on Zack Snyder, but what I will say is that when we have these this old Batman who's 1 foot out of doing what he does, and the Justice League just got formed, it feels wrong. You know what I mean? It feels wrong. But enough of that. Let's go into the news real quick. My favorite part, probably not of this episode, because again, this is the least exciting part of the episode, to be honest.
Well, you know me. I love news, and when you lead it, let's jump into it.
I appreciate that. Batman Damned just concluded with its 3rd book. After being delayed as long as it had been. Batman Damned, if you folks remember, is notable for being the first sighting of the Batawang, where Batman had his full-on kielbasa on page, written by...
You were just full of it today.
written by Brian Azzarello and art done by Lee Bermejo. It is a fantastic story. And let me tell you, across 3 issues, magazine-style books, you're confused as shit. But let me tell you how much this book rounds out. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm sure there's it just came out Wednesday, so I'm sure there's a lot of people who haven't gotten the chance to read it yet. but go pick it up if you get the chance. It's really, really fantastic. Just a really gritty, Dark Knight, Justice League Dark centered book. And we get like the Dead Man, Etrigan, like really weird forms. This has to be Elseworld because Etrigan is like a rapper, which is weird. But you get like Etrigan the demon.
Oh snap! I'm back again. It's the demon spawn Etrigan.
you get Boston Brand, the Dead Man, who, and instead of him having a red suit, it's all muscle tissue. It looks really great. And
that's cool.
What's her name? Zatanna is a whore. And there's just like a lot of really weird stuff in this book.
Like a prostitute?
Yeah, so it's part of DC Black. No, but she's like,
oh, so she's turning tricks.
Yeah,
Get
she's,
it? She's instead of being a magician.
She is like a street magician, like kind of like hustling people in the street, and then
she hustles them in the sheets.
They later go and find her to like do a like speak to the dead, and it's like they find her in a strip club doing like in the corner magic tricks and stuff, and I'm like, this is bizarre, but
awesome.
It's a really weird. Constantine, of course, is like one of the main focuses. You get brushes with the Swamp Thing, and it's just a really great like Justice League Dark centered 3-issue magazine style story. So loved every bit of it. What do you have that look on your face for?
Oh no, I was just thinking something. I read somebody had an idea the other day, not to go too crazy, but you know, Ewan McGregor is playing the Black Mask,
right?
Which is awesome. I love that.
Yeah, big fan.
Somebody said they missed a great opportunity by not letting him be Constantine, and I never thought of that ever. And then I sat and I actually considered it, and I was like, that would have been great. Like, I think it would have been awesome.
Absolutely, I could.
I really do. Like,
I don't think that I would be disappointed at all in that casting. What I keep thinking, though, is I'm excited to see him as Black Mask because we've gotten him as, like, Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen him in that light. We've seen him in movies that are not necessarily good or bad, but I want to see him as a bad guy.
I think they did what their point was, too, is they're assuming Black Mask is going to be a one-off. Like, he's only going to be in one film.
Do you think? Really?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But I think their point was they could have got him to be somebody like John Constantine, maybe show up a couple times, which I get it. So anyways, just throwing that in.
You don't think McGregor would be willing to do recurring stuff?
I don't know if it's that he's willing to, but I guarantee for his contract was only for one film because you know how the DC films are right now. They have no idea.
Well, that's the thing. Do you think any big people are signing on for long stints of DC until they...
Well, they did say Will Smith only didn't come back because of scheduling. They didn't say he didn't want to.
Yeah.
And I believe that he probably would have come back.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Speaking of Will Smith, we actually have some Will Smith news. Aladdin has just become Will Smith's highest grossing film ever, surpassing Independence Day.
No way.
Yeah. Isn't that fucking weird?
Wow.
That's crazy. It's only because of the fact that when the first trailer came out, when he was shown as Genie,
right,
there was so much hate for it.
Not only
good point.
Him being blue.
You're not wrong. And look, I even had an open mind. I'm not an Aladdin fan. I like straight up. I'm a Disney fan, 100%. When I was a kid, Aladdin was not my movie. I don't know why. I just didn't like it.
You street rat.
Yeah, maybe it's just. But you know, it just wasn't my vibe. I was a big Lion King. Peter Pan was always like my favorite Disney character, and but I wasn't an Aladdin fan. But I saw the trailer and I thought it looked good for the most part. Like the first trailer. I was like, okay, as somebody who doesn't care about this nearly as much, this looks fun. So I didn't really expect it to do bad, but it did do bad, which was weird. Like, the opening weekend wasn't stellar, if I remember correctly. Or maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know.
But I just remember a lot of it coming back being like, this movie's very subpar. And for that to surpass as his highest grossing movie, it's super surprising.
Well, it's what's stunning to me is you said it outgrossed Independence Day, and maybe I just haven't looked up on how much that movie made, but I thought that was one of the highest grossing films in the list in the highest grossing film.
No, I don't think so. It's up. It's got to be up there though in certain relative.
I know
terms.
at the time that movie was like
right, but it's not like
jam.
It's not. I don't think it's like in the top 10 or anything like that. But it's definitely up there in the rankings. And by the way, one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean,
Independence Day.
Yeah, from a visual effects standpoint of how they, and I was just watching behind the scenes stuff of how they did like the explosion on the streets and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So super cool bit of factoid for Independence Day. they had to shoot it obviously with certain ISOs. Fire, it burns real hot. When you have to film fire, you get a lot of white spots from the lighting being too big. So they have to lower down the ISO, which makes it look super kind of not real in a certain way when you have fire that's not burning bright on the screen coming at you, but they had to do it for reasons. So you have this, the aliens completely destroyed the tower when it wasn't the White House. I don't remember what the skyscraper they blew up was, but they blew up the skyscraper, and then you see the fireball just like flood the streets, right? So they actually had to build a model of the city and put it on its side, and then they just blasted a fireball at a camera that was sitting like in the streets.
Whoa.
And that's how they did the effect of like the alien fire just like sweeping the streets, and it looked super neat. And then when they turned down the ISO and color corrected it, it's real fire, but it's not super bright. So all you see is the immense detail in every curdle of the flame. And I was like, oh my God, no wonder I love this movie so much.
I knew they did a lot of like groundbreaking stuff for the effects at the time. Like I've seen stuff about it too, where they're showing like that scene where they're storming the Air Force base and they're essentially blowing everything up. They're showing the stunt man actually getting vaulted with these catapults. Like it was really cool. And like they did a lot of miniatures. I know they did that too. Like they
well,
used
and that's
a lot
the thing
of
is that it was a lot more. There was a lot of practical effects.
Yeah.
Mixed in with visual effects, and
very
somebody
cool.
said that I don't remember who it was. It was one of the Corridor guys. It was like Nico on Corridor, and he was talking about how one of the really great, or some of the greatest movies had that true blend of, we have like visual effects that's what we have to do with computers, but we also loaded it packed with practical effects.
Look at things like Alien and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all practical
Yes.
sets, but keep in
Puppets
mind where
and
that
whatnot.
whole thing takes place.
Yeah.
In space. I don't think they were actually up there when they filmed the movie. I could be wrong. But I love films that use practical effects. For example, Prometheus. Not,
Right.
that people are split on that movie. Ridley Scott did like the same thing. All those were practical sets too, and it looks awesome. I think it like comes through in the film. Looks really cool.
One of the big things is if they, so to me, you would have my money if they shot the next Alien movie like in the space station. Like if you actually, this is a terrible idea, but if you made an Alien movie and you were able to shoot it actually in space, you would immediately have my money. I'd go see that movie.
What if Ridley Scott like approached?
Yeah.
Like, does NASA exist anymore? Did they shut it all down?
He could approach,
Or no, the astronaut program got shut down.
but he could approach Elon Musk.
But he could like
and
be like,
hey,
listen,
SpaceX.
I just got an idea.
Yeah.
Alien 4. Hear me out. In space. And he's like, well, I don't know. He goes, no, think about
like
it.
actually
In space.
That's fucking great.
Elon Musk would be like, great, let's put a Tesla sign on the side of the place and we're good.
He'd be like, let's put a Tesla sign, and you guys, you have to use flamethrower. You have to use my flamethrowers, and
Exactly.
you have to kill the aliens that way.
But yeah, no, I didn't know about Aladdin. So
Yeah. Avengers, the re-release of Avengers had a pretty poor opening weekend. Surprisingly, only grossing $1.3 million from the re-release
that can't be true.
for the opening weekend.
So Avengers Endgame again had a
Yeah.
horrible soft opening.
Avengers End of the Endgame.
Endgame.
Now, since then, I have seen
2.
numbers that were reporting stronger. But
I tried to go yesterday, and full disclosure, I was going to get tickets on Friday, and I saw it was like pretty open for the weekend. And I was like,
Right.
oh, no problem. So I checked yesterday, completely sold out, like
Really?
all showings. Now, granted, one theater in Jacksonville is not a representation of its total gross. But
Yeah.
then I checked again for Sunday, same thing, like stacked. So I figured I guess they're not going to beat Avatar.
Well,
I really
and
wanted them to.
those were early numbers. I think it will beat Avatar, but those were early numbers, and for its opening weekend. And
Is this it? Just one weekend?
you
I
know
think
what?
it is.
Don't know. Is it
I
only
think
for
so.
the weekend?
I think so.
I think they're gonna leave it in there as long as they need to.
I think they should. I mean, I like how they're being open about it too. How
Yeah.
they're like, we're doing this to take the number 1 spot. Like, it is what it is.
So, more comic book news. Superman Year One just started. Frank Miller, who wrote Batman Year One, he also came back to write Superman Year One. And it's super fucking weird, but kind of in a great way. You get a lot. so obviously the first issue, and I will spoil a little bit just because it's super interesting.
Son of a bitch.
You get kind of like the origin story all over again, but they hit somehow every part that you never got to see, which is him in school being who he is. You know, he's going into middle school and high school for the first time, being fucking Superboy, you know, and having all these Kryptonian powers and having to deal with bullying, very serious bullying in a small town, and having to deal with, you know, his friends who obviously are more meek and not able to stand up for themselves, being harassed, and one kid almost getting killed by this bully because it's a small town and he thinks he's tough shit, and having to handle that without him straight up murdering a bully because he's Kryptonian. And it's super bizarre, but it's also really interesting to see how they handle that character development, and how, you know, Pa Kent really just like instilled that you don't take shit, you stand up for yourself, but you are not a killer, you're not a bully, you know, you do things the right way by the book. And it really kind of put that perspective of why he's such a Boy Scout into frame because of Pa Kent. And I loved it. I loved every bit of it. And at the end, he goes off to join the Navy, which makes no sense. And let me tell you why. I'm super confused. This has been all over the internet. Now all the articles are saying stuff like, Frank Miller just made Superman a Navy SEAL. It's like, chill. He joined the Navy. Like, not the same shit. But he goes off to join the Navy, and my first thought was, okay, so you join the Navy, but they have like physicals and inspections, and they're going to try to give you shots and test your reflexes, and they're going to not be able to penetrate your skin or do anything, and you're going to fly through basic training. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought immediately of way too much red tape for him going to the Navy. Now, it ended with him arriving at boot camp, so we'll see what happens. But what do you guys think? Do you think it would be, even if they fudged it around a little bit, people are more mad right now that they made him a military man, which I think fucking fits Superman's persona 100%. But what do you guys think? I mean, do you think it's weird to have made him?
Dude, it's comics are stories of the same characters retold in different variations over and over and over. I think it's fine. The fact that you just said people are mad about it, I'm like, just shut up. Just don't read it.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, it's whatever. You'll have a different one that was a dentist in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I think it's dope. I like
Superman the dentist?
Yeah. But, yeah. So, I'll look into it. But, I like it. I think it's cool. I think in the last year one Superman, he developed even a new power, or they implied he could manipulate atoms or something. Like, he is like... Anyways, what I'm getting at is I'm sure they'll find a way to explain away the points you brought up, because those were really good points. Like,
right.
He's Superman. He's not going to be able to get through a bunch of
Again, and I
basics.
say it almost every fucking episode. Anything can be good with the right writing.
Yeah,
Anything.
so I'm sure they've thought of that. You honestly think they haven't thought of stuff? But
well,
then again, it's a comic book. Maybe they'll never acknowledge it.
It's not even that it's a comic book. It's Frank Miller. And Frank Miller, with respect, because I love Frank Miller. The Dark Knight Returns is my favorite book of all time.
Oh, God, with the Dark Knight Returns.
Batman Year One is a really good book. But Frank Miller hasn't been good since the 90s. I mean, he's a fucking crackpot. He's crazy. And I say I mean that with respect. I really do. But the dude, I just don't want him to fuck this up, because I'm really excited for this book.
Yeah.
But that being said, that's the least of my worries of him in the Navy. And I think, I mean, Tim, what do you think? It fits. First of all, it fits his persona, right?
I mean, it's definitely interesting just because the fact that, I mean, most people only know Superman for just being, like, adopted by Ma and Pa Kent, and then him working for the newspaper, and then that's it. His relationship with Lois, and then everything else with his powers. But other than that, I mean, that's interesting.
Well, and you brought up really good points. So, at work, but behind the scenes of this show, you brought up a lot about how Lois is Superman's like weak point. What's interesting is you saw a lot of that in this first issue, which was with Lana Lang. So he left Lana in Smallville, left home, and then he went to join the Navy. But she was, of course, his first love. You had always talked about how Superman is easily defeatable because his family, whether it's Ma or Pa Kent, John, his son, or Lois, are his heart, right? Mm-hmm. And it's issues like this. I implore you guys to read the first issue of Superman Year One, which again I think is only 3 issues, magazine style, just like Batman Damned. But I implore you to read it because I think it gives you that perspective. I've never seen it as a bad thing that his family is his heart, right? I love that about the character. And this issue really highlights why it's more of a strength than it actually is a weakness.
Yeah, because you've seen that in stories before where it's like when you have compassion or love for family, a good villain will exploit that every time.
Right.
But at the same time, you've seen the other iterations where it's like, well, that's what makes me different. Like, you know, that's what gives me my will to not die. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it gives them a lot of strength, but it also, and you're right, a villain can exploit it, but...
A good villain, yes, will always manipulate that. In my opinion, a good villain will always attack that, but, you know, there's ways around it.
But that's what's amazing about, like, the recent iterations, I think, especially of Lois Lane, like Tomasi and Bendis, who's been doing Superman. He now does Superman and Action Comics and the Event Leviathan. Lois is a badass. And it's like, it's really putting it into that mode of Superman doesn't worry about Lois nearly as much because she's such a fucking badass.
Yeah.
And I kind of dig that aspect of it. But anyways, moving on. One thing that you brought up right before the show that I added to the news, Taskmaster being rumored for Black Widow. What do you guys think, man? Taskmaster.
Fire away, Tim.
To be honest, Taskmaster, he's a great character. But I kind of feel like a joke character because when I started getting into Deadpool, his back and forth with Taskmaster, it was funny, but I couldn't take it serious. But I do respect him though, so I think it's cool that he will be her villain because this movie should have came out years ago. But I mean, yeah, so I'm excited for it.
So it's interesting you say that because Taskmaster was originally, if I'm not mistaken, he was a pretty serious threat when he first came out, and he's kind of Deathstrokey in a way of like he is like an assassin, but his powers are he can mimic anybody. Isn't that
He's
what he
another
does?
one of those like really smart kind of. Like you said, I wouldn't dare compare him to Deathstroke because.
Or maybe it's that he can adapt. He can adapt.
It
to
depends on your
anybody's
iteration
superpowers.
of him too.
He copies the fighting style, doesn't he?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, he can copy anybody's fighting style. He's a really good hand-to-hand combat villain.
Yeah.
And if they can bring him back into being, I don't want him to be a joke because, like, again, he was just a big part of the Hunted story arc for Spider-Man that just ended, and him and Black Ant, they were very jokey, very
Blant.
Yeah, like the Spider-Man that wasn't, but you know, they were very jokey, very kind of like knuckleheadish, and I don't want to see that in this movie. I want to see like a serious threat. First of all, his design is one of my favorites. I think, if anything, Taskmaster looks kind of dope. Just the skull and the hood and like Moon Knight mixed with some other shit. But
Doom, like he reminds me of Doom. Sometimes when I see him.
And I want him to be a serious threat. I don't know how to feel about the Black Widow movie in general yet, but I'm excited.
I was gonna say same thing. Like I agree with what seems to be a popular consensus is that she should have had a movie a while ago. Like if they were gonna do it, don't do it at the end of this saga. Maybe you should have threw her in, phase 3, phase 2. But what I will say, I think her exit from the films, as we saw in Endgame, I thought that was great. I'm kind of looking forward to it. I didn't think I would care about a Black Widow movie, to be honest. But I don't know. I think Taskmaster as a villain is going to be cool. I think Marvel has proven that they can take maybe not necessarily the most known characters and still make them very cool and adapt them well to the screen. And they just have to show us what happened in Budapest. Like that's really all I care about.
But I don't want a whole movie about Budapest.
No, but I would like for Jeremy Renner to show up at one point, and then obviously I'm thinking it's going to be like a Red Sparrow, like it's going to show her training.
Is it almost guaranteed that
they were filming in Budapest and everything? So I'm assuming if it's Marvel, I'm assuming he's going to be in it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is it almost guaranteed that Renner's going to make an appearance?
I would think so. Like I think he should at least be in one segment. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, sure. Taskmaster I think's cool. I like it.
Yeah, Taskmaster's cool. What else do we got? We got this is Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans. The trailer just came out And if you're not excited for this, fuck yourself. Let me tell you.
Oh my goodness.
I am so interested in. It looks just as goofy and bizarre as all the Teen Titans Go stuff has been. Which I'm one of those people that genuinely thinks it's a funny show. Like, it's super off-color, weird, goofy, funny.
Yep.
And they're bringing in the old style, which is still super updated. Like, it's the old style that they did, but obviously it's brought into 2019. So, like, some things, just like Cyborg to me looks a little more cut out cardboard kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it looked funny. It looked good. I'm excited to see what happens. But what I did realize is that because you have the same actors playing both portrayals of the characters, it was getting super confusing even in the trailer of which Robin was talking and when things were happening. So
I laughed when they showed up and he's like, "Oh no, it's the more serious versions of ourselves."
Yeah.
But I'll be the first to say, man, like, I love Teen Titans, blah blah blah.
yeah.
I watched the Teen Titans Go movie.
Oh, did you
Actually,
see?
recently.
Yeah, you saw Teen Titans Go to the movies?
Sucked. Like, it was awful.
Really?
But I watched the whole thing and I was singing all the
Fucking
songs.
Killed at the box
Yeah, I know.
office,
I mean,
man.
it's cool, but even like, I mean, it just wasn't that good. I didn't think it was that
Really?
good.
That's
but I
interesting.
watched the whole thing. Like I said, next thing I know, in my sleep, I was singing all the songs, and they took Deathstroke and had him voiced by Will Arnett, which just infuriated me. But I get it. So
You know what's the thing is that I love Will Arnett
I do too.
so much.
Like, I think he's cool.
But if you, yeah, how fucking dare you?
I didn't like him as Deathstroke. I
How
was like, give
dare
me a break,
you put
man.
him as Slade Wilson?
Nah. But yeah, the movie in general, I was like, this is not as good as I thought it was going to be based on the reaction of like how many people went to go see it. And yeah, I think I'm going to pass on this new one is what I'm getting at.
No, I'm gonna see it. So it's not a
Good.
theatrical release. It's just a straight to video. But
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
Tim, what do you think? You gonna watch it at least?
I'd definitely give it a chance. I did watch the Titans Go movie too, like maybe 3 a.m. after I watched something different. I mean, I felt the same way because I was like, man, I feel like a Disney movie, the way they were singing so much. And then obviously, Slade, that definitely was.
Right.
Yeah, that
It was
that
off-putting.
tragic.
That goofy ass Will Arnett.
That was
voice.
definitely tragic. But I mean, I just wish they bring back the old Teen Titans. Might as well just bring it back. Teen Titans Go. I feel like it can stay
right.
like with Cartoon Network because they have this whole like comedy thing they're doing with their cartoons.
Right. Yeah.
But you can still bring back the original. And
Yeah,
still
no,
make money
for
with
sure.
that.
They have a very niche audience for Teen Titans Go, which I think is great. And again, I enjoy it. I've watched so many, like several episodes. I'm not gonna say I've sat there and like watched all of it, but I watched the ones that looked interesting. One of the ones I saw that was really cool was where they met Young Justice, and it was the
Yeah.
Young Justice from the show Young Justice, and it was Superboy and Aqualad, and obviously no Nightwing or Robin, but the Robin from Teen Titans Go was like really trying to impress them. It was just funny, weird shit.
He does make me laugh though, like the Teen Titans Go Robin, like
Yeah.
the way he interacts with people. Like when the other one showed up, I like when Starfire was like, their version of Robin is so handsome.
Right, yeah.
Whatever. Like,
The thing that is most amazing about Teen Titans Go is just the fact of it is so ridiculously packed and loaded full of cameos and Easter eggs,
definitely.
and they're not afraid to reference any part. It's very Deadpool-esque, the whole show.
Yes, I will give credit to the Teen Titans Go movie when Stan Lee showed up to make a cameo. And
Yes.
they said, Stan, you can't be here. This is DC.
Yeah.
And he goes, I don't care. I just loved a cameo.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he had passed and everything. But
Right.
still, like, it was... I loved it.
Which,
I thought it
if
was
I'm not
great.
mistaken, that was Stan Lee who did the voice,
Yeah.
right? He actually cameoed.
Like,
yeah.
I was like, that's when you know, like, none of that matters. Like, which is
Yeah.
better, this and
Oh,
this.
the
And
DC Marvel rivalry.
I loved it.
I was
loved
just
every
watching
second
a
of it.
documentary actually that was talking about the DC Marvel rivalry
Mm-hmm.
and how even between them, it's completely manufactured. They
Yeah.
were so quick to be like, "Oh, you know what people like? Debating shit." So they made it up. But even Stan, there were parts where there was bad blood just between writers and Stan Lee and Ditko left, and like all this stuff happened. Or in Kirby, switch sides and whatnot, and there was a lot of that kind of bad blood, but even Stan would be the first one to say, like, man, we never cared, we never hated them, or there was no real rivalry. It was just all for selling books and having fun.
Yeah, it gets you talking about all of it.
Yeah, I think it's great.
But yeah, that part was awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it just because it is really funny. Speaking of which, I just read on the DC Universe app. I wanted to go back and read. It was the first appearance of Deathstroke, the new Teen Titans #2, and I wanted to, first of all, amazing. And I'm going to tell you why it's amazing. It's amazing because all the dialogue was so fucking 80s, so ridiculously corny. Like, Deathstroke himself, the way he called, God, I don't even remember what he was calling people, but he would, like, people called each other jerks. Like, you bunch of jerks are doing this. I'm just like, what?
I mean, I still do that. Like, I don't understand.
But you know what I mean? It just felt so, like, retro. And Deathstroke, but Deathstroke was super cool to his, or super true to even his character now. And what's interesting is, and I didn't know this, Deathstroke from the beginning was cited to have enhanced abilities. I thought that was something that came later.
No.
But when he appeared, he was cited to have. And so the whole story, he's like being told to destroy the Teen Titans. And this kid named Michael Wilson something, he is dating this girl. And in the first issue, he was like an abusive boyfriend. So they took the girl and put her somewhere safe with the Titans. Anyway, so he's now trying to destroy the Titans because he's jealous and angry that they took his girl away. So he goes, and these people are like, hey, kid, you want some superpowers? And he was like, yeah. So they gave him the same superpowers as Slade. And they said, well, Deathstroke was able to unlock 90% of his brain. We're going to unlock 100% in your brain, right? So they unlock 100% of his brain, which doesn't do anything. He's still a fucking idiot through the whole issue. But they also give him enhanced reflexes and all the stuff that Slade has. So they do this, and not once do you see the name Slade through the whole thing. You're just seeing Deathstroke. They also call him the Terminator through most of it because he was Deathstroke the Terminator.
That's one thing over the years they've almost dropped a little bit, is that was like always his little moniker. I think it's cool too. Like,
well, I think somebody said, I don't remember what I was reading, but they said they had to when the Terminator series got big, like the movies. When that franchise got big, DC was like, all right, well, let's just drop the, Deathstroke is a cool enough name. But
it really is.
So the kid is, trying to destroy the Titans to get his girl back, and he's dressed in a very similar costume to Deathstroke. And Deathstroke's like, I'll take you under my wing, kid, and I'll show you how. It's just, again, very corny, but very cool. And they find out that the kid, the more he uses his powers, it could kill him. So he uses it too much, it kills him, he dies. And then the Hive, who was controlling everything, they're like, do you think Deathstroke will come around to our side? And it shows Deathstroke standing at the kid's grave, and it says, Michael Wilson. And they said, yes, like father, like son. And you find out that Deathstroke is Slade Wilson, the father of the kid in question. So the reason I'm bringing this up is I know Matt's favorite comic book character is Deathstroke. He's definitely in like my top 3. He has to be.
Yeah.
And I just realized I'd never read that issue. So they had it on the DC Universe app. And what a fucking satisfying first issue in general for a character that you love. Yeah. Even going back to this corny time.
If I'm not mistaken, it's in the new, it's not Rebirth. New 52, in my opinion, lays out his origin so well. And it's similar, it's like you said, they actually show his military career. They show him being enhanced. They show him before being enhanced, during, after, what caused him to be. I mean, in all reality, Slade Wilson is an asshole. He is a terrible person.
Yeah, and his kid, when he was in full suit up mode, the kid Wilson, he went by the Ravager.
See, and that's what's cool too. Ravager is more frequently is Rose.
Is his daughter. And
Rose.
When I read that, I was like, "Holy fuck!" Matt would freak out.
Yeah, he's got 3. He's got 3 kids. He's got Rose, who's typically the Ravager. He's got Jericho, which is, I think Grant is not Jericho. Grant's he's the one that was like Deathstroke 2, essentially, when they did him in New 52.
Right.
And he was awesome. But yeah, that was the thing. It's like Slade Wilson is amazing. He's an amazing character, and then they give him 3 kids that are, honestly, they're pretty badass too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could go off on Deathstroke a long time, so I'm just gonna stop.
But I don't know. So that's all the news I got. Anybody else got anything?
Real quick, with I think it was Jericho. They actually put him in Arrow.
Yep.
In one of the episodes.
Was he in fucking Arrow?
Yep. They did a lot of the Slade Wilson stuff.
Recently, or was that?
I think it's last season, I believe.
You know what? I do remember that. Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I remember seeing it in the adverts and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you seen the Judas Contract movie?
Yes.
Have you read the book? Or
No.
well, you know what I'm saying. Have
No.
you read the run?
I know that number 3 in that is the first appearance of Nightwing, but that's all I know.
Right. So, interesting fact. If you've only seen the animated film, do you recall the kid that they had hooked in the device and they were transferring the powers into him? He was like the guinea pig.
Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah. I
And
do.
then old girl shot him afterwards.
Yes.
It's just like a blonde kid. That's Jericho.
Oh, really?
But in the book, it's known like that's his son. That's
Right.
Slade Wilson's kid. In
Oh.
the movie, they just completely were like, no.
By the way, same fun fact about that issue. I realized that Beast Boy was not Beast Boy. He was Beast Boy, and his name was Gar, but he was super rich. His family was super rich, and he went by the Changeling back then. He was not Beast Boy. They called him the Gar, also known as the Changeling, and his stepfather was like 10 times richer than Bruce Wayne.
Wow.
And they had this like ridiculous mansion.
And
But
you brought up Arrow. Now I'm thinking of all this stuff. He's like every other character except Green Arrow because Brother Blood was in it from that story of the Judas Contract. So
Right.
Brother Blood was an Arrow villain. He's basically Batman with Ra's al Ghul.
He was.
He's not. He's everybody except Oliver Queen. Like they're using all the other characters' origins.
that's funny.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do All right. So, we're going to get into our write the DCEU stuff here in a second. We're actually making pretty good time for this, but we got something we got to do now, Matt.
Is it an ad read?
It's a fucking ad read, Matt.
Yes!
We got to do an ad read. Tim, are you ready for a
Tim,
fucking ad read?
introduce the ad read.
Go ahead.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Me and Matt really do hope that you love the Bat in the Hat podcast, but did you know that you can actually get paid just for listening to this podcast? I know it sounds insane, but it's true. We just discovered this free new app called Podcoin, and it literally pays you to listen to podcasts. Here's how it works. You listen to podcasts and you earn Podcoin while you listen. Then you turn that Podcoin in for gift cards at places like Amazon or Starbucks. Or if you're a good human being, you could even donate that Podcoin to charity. The more you listen, the more you earn.
So here's what you do. Download the app right now on iPhone or Android, and I have a special code just for you. Simply use our code BATINTHEHAT, and you'll get 300 Podcoin. Podcoins? Podcoin. Just for signing up. And if you listen to enough of us on there, you can get a cappuccino at Starbucks or maybe even an Amazon gift card on us. So go ahead. Go listen to this podcast or virtually any podcast on Podcoin. Sign up with code BATINTHEHAT. I swear, it's going to change the way you listen to your podcast forever.
I gotta say, that ad read just gets better and better every time we do it. Isn't that right, Matt?
Every time I'm like, we'll never do it better.
Matt, I swear to fucking God, if you're playing Pokemon on your Switch while we're doing the show, I will kill you.
I'm not doing that. But no.
I can hear the Switch,
No.
Matt.
The ad read was
it
was good.
Fantastic.
Tim, thank you for not inputting it all into the ad read, by the way. We're so
Tim.
good at our lines at it. It's like it just comes out the same every time.
But yeah, so let's go ahead and start, man. I'm so excited. We're gonna go over our DCEU ideas and stuff that we want to do. For those of you at home, Jesus Christ,
No,
Matt.
that's my phone.
Yeah, as we hear the Pokemon. Turn the fucking sound off at least,
sorry.
you prick.
I'm so sorry. But look at it. Look at my Pikachu. He's
Yeah,
wearing a
it's
suit.
adorable. It's
He's wearing
fantastic.
a suit.
Oh my God,
I'll turn it off.
ruining everything.
So close to Charizard and
Yeah.
Blastoise.
I already have all of them.
Well, you're also like months and months ahead of me. That's like a week for me, buddy.
Well, you're like 96. So
Venusaur's been killing.
Tim, you wanted to go first, man. Let's go ahead and hear what you got.
All right, so basically, I have mine set up like it was kind of like the Marvel Universe, basically 10 movies.
Okay.
Wow.
But I only went off.
That's like half of the Marvel Universe.
I am
but-
wildly
Yeah.
underprepared.
But I mean, I didn't necessarily change everything Zack Snyder did.
Right.
I mean, because in my mind, I kept Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Shazam. I didn't actually. I realized I didn't. Put
Well,
Shazam
and that's
in here.
cool because we didn't.
Yeah.
So we didn't have we didn't set up rules or anything like that. We just wanted to come up with shit. Whatever you like, if you kept what's going on, if you kept current iterations of stuff, if you rebooted, if you changed, whatever, man. Like, it's all
Yeah.
good.
I was wondering if y'all were gonna do that too, because I was like, haha, I'm keeping some of this stuff.
I
so
think
I'm
most
ready
of
to-
mine is actually reboot.
Yeah, I don't want to get rid of it all.
Yeah,
I
most,
like a lot
most
of
of
the
mine is reboot. So I'm interested though. Go ahead.
So other than that, 'cause I do regret not putting Shazam in here. That kind of would have changed everything. But basically, my whole point was I start off with Batman. I feel like Batman needs to be established first. Do a different one Zack Snyder did. This Batman movie, I basically just want him to like just fight mobs. So basically, Black Mask, Penguin introduced him as well. Penguin not as like high up as he is, still dealing weapons and stuff.
Right.
But he's still trying to make a name for himself.
Oh, I
Right.
love it.
And then I have Falcone as well. Cause
Okay.
it's Gotham. I had to put.
I was
him
gonna
in
say,
there.
so we're gonna
So-
like smack season 3 of Gotham.
Yeah,
I'm
but
loving
the
it.
only thing with this one is I did want to, because I want all 3 mobsters in it, but I want Batman to actually do detective work. Because he's not going to just go in there and fight every single one of them.
I'm pretty sure that's a
Yeah.
note in like all of our and only because like they made such a big deal about that, where Matt Reeves came out and said, "Yeah, this is going to be a detective movie," and we all like
Yeah.
our boners erupted at the same
Well,
time.
I'll jump in real quick and just say he just described my Batman movie, so I'm done. I'm kidding. Do go ahead, Tim. I love it. I love it.
Definitely, my honest opinion, I prefer Batman to be in his 20s if he's starting like to join the Justice
Right.
League and everything. Because my thing with Ben Affleck, which I was at first excited for before he actually made Batman v Superman, the thing between him and Christian Bale I didn't like. With Christopher Nolan's Batman, I didn't like how he made a huge time skip. Batman's crippled. He has to use a machine just to walk.
Right.
He's running a cane. I didn't like that. Eventually, I thought they would do it different, but then when they made him be Batman for 20 years before he even meets Superman,
Right.
I don't know. That just made me mad. So, off of Batman starts it off. Superman will be next. Basically, Man of Steel, but differently. So his interaction with Zod has to be different. Like
I was gonna
was
say
more
after what
killer
you
Zod.
said
I
earlier,
love
yeah.
that you just were like basically Man of Steel, but not.
Because my only thing with Man of Steel, my 2 main problems with it was how much Lois was in it. She had way too much screen time,
Right.
in my honest opinion. She's an important character to him, but way too much. And then him killing Zod, that's the only thing. Because I watched that clip all the time. You could have flew away. Like, you could have just moved him. I don't understand. I mean, I don't know. Put your hands over his eyes. I don't know.
That's interesting. I always thought for the scope.
Oh yeah, when he's threatening to burn up the
And
the
he's
3
screaming.
random
Yeah.
civilians.
Yeah,
Superman's like, I gotta kill him. There's nothing I can do.
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, but my main thing with Batman and Superman is they have to be completely different. Superman has to be hopeful, so that's why I want him still fight Zod, but it be different.
Man, so you know what's
Yeah.
super interesting about you saying that is that, and Matt, you've heard me talk about this before. Superman, oh my God,
That would change the whole dynamic of
literally just
DC
fucked my
Superman.
fucking head
Like that.
because
That's perfect. Him
I-
not killing Zod.
I
would
say
just-
that all the time. Is that Superman to me is like a beacon of hope, right? He's the light. He is the Boy Scout, the good, and that's a good thing. It's okay for that to happen. My only issue with the Snyderverse and like Man of Steel, which I do think was a fantastic movie, was that they darkened the colors and they wanted to make it a little more raw, and I get all that.
Yeah.
But it took away from Superman being that, other than you being like, on my planet it means hope. You took away from him being that symbol for me. And I love that in your head you kind of were like, well, I want to put that back. I want to give him that shining, Boy Scout. We're going to make him that symbol again because there's a reason for it. He is the perfect contrast to who Batman is.
That's crazy to me, that subtle change that Tim just said. Like, where he's
Right.
literally like, let's keep the movie the same.
Right.
But I think about the way the movies went.
Yeah.
He carries that weight with him afterwards. Like, he's like, oh, I killed Zod. Like, that sucks.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm loving it so far, Tim.
So, I didn't order this right, but my next few movies, so I will have a Batman 2 come out.
Uh-huh.
But this time, my whole thing is I want to introduce the sidekicks now.
And again, that's going off of the idea that Batman v Superman was like Batman 1.
No, that's scrapped.
No, he's starting
That's
with
right.
his Batman
Yeah.
film.
But
The
the
one-
only thing is, though,
Oh, I
meant to
thought you
mention-
meant like Batman
yeah.
2, like a sequel.
So,
No, to his Batman.
Oh, okay.
yeah, let me go back. So, Batman 1, I wanted to end, like, he actually, like, ended a movie I put, just, like, detail for it. He does attend a circus where he actually meets Dick for the first time. and then you see Dick's parents get killed.
Uh-huh.
And it
I
ends
love
right
it.
there. But in the end credit scene, I want him start. Oh my god, that's why I want him to be in the Batcave. Alfred's talking to him. He mentioned something about Dick, everything like that. But Batman's not paying attention. He's looking at a screen. He has Aquaman on one side, Wonder Woman, Superman, and I guess the Green Lanterns. Cause I want both of them. So basically, but Superman's dead in the middle.
John and
Hal.
Yeah,
John
me
and
too,
Hal.
dude. That's
So,
awesome.
Superman's in the middle of the screen, and he's just looking at everything that's happened with Superman since he's been on Earth, and Batman's just staring at it, just not even saying anything, just looking at it. So that's how I want that to end. So Batman 2, however, so basically just starts off with him and Robin, sidekick. My thing is, I want to avoid the whole backstories with Batman's parents, Superman coming to Earth. I want to avoid all that. We already know that. Everyone knows that.
Cool.
So only people I want to have backstories is just the sidekick. So Robin, you need to give him his just only in a flashback. It doesn't have to be long.
Right.
So that's there. Now this one, I wanted it to be about fear. So Scarecrow's gonna be the main villain, and I kind of stole this from Arkham Knight. I want him to recruit other villains.
Right.
So I added Croc and Poison Ivy to make it more like a horror movie kind of way.
Okay.
Because if you use the fear and make Croc, look scary, I guess.
Right.
Dig it.
Then at the end of that one, basically like how Batman discovered he was Clark Kent. At the end of it, he actually, because Superman tries to help, tries to come in and help. Batman says no, basically. So he just basically teased that Batman knows who Superman is, kind of like I did in the animated series, where you see Batman from a distance, just staring at Clark in the actual, like, not even the uniform, but just staring at him, and then he sees it, and then he knows his identity. After that, then I have the Trinity. They get their own movie.
Okay.
A proper movie,
nice.
and they don't fight Doomsday.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a movie that's more just the Trinity, not so much the Justice League.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
They fight Vandal Savage.
Okay.
Oh, that's
good
awesome.
one. Yeah, good
I
one.
love that.
Good
Let me
pull.
back up 2 seconds. So in Batman 2 is where Superman is not introduced, but like that's the first time they cross paths.
Basically, he tries to help, and then Batman is like, "No, I don't need your help."
I love it.
basically. It's
Now,
awesome.
when you said Aquaman and the Green Lantern and them, did you mean they were in the cave with Bruce, or they're on the screen?
He's watching the screen like this. This prepares,
Okay, so similar to what we
Yeah.
got with
Like
Snyder,
previews.
where he like had files on them and whatnot,
basically setting up. What was the anime movie where he was?
which I didn't hate, by the way. I thought
No,
that
it was
was
awesome.
a cool. That made Batman sense.
I know what you're thinking
Yeah.
of too, where he sees
he has-
Clark.
yeah.
Yeah, it's oh hell, you know what it is too. It's where Batman's literally watching Clark like in his apartment.
What are you talking about?
There's an animated movie, I'm trying to remember which one it was.
Was
like
it?
where he's showing that he knows who Superman is. Like Batman's up on a rooftop across the city, and he's watching Clark.
That was
'cause
one
he
of
knows he can see him.
the. That was. I can see it in my head. It
Yeah,
was
I'm-
part of the
yeah.
Justice. What are the Justice League movies from the animated series? Because it was that style of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he was really cool.
He turns around and he just sees Batman just staring at. I think he waved, right? Because I think he waved at Superman. He was so pissed about it.
Yeah, he was doing something like, it doesn't matter, what powers you got or anything. Like, I got your number, dude.
Right.
Like, I'm Batman.
But the
Sick.
other heroes on the screen part, what I meant by that is like that's just basically setting up Batman's distrust of everybody else. but
No,
his own
yeah.
people.
So
So that, then I got Aquaman 2. Basically, he'll just fight Black Manta pretty much. Introduce Aqualad. It'll be his son, I guess.
yeah, which I'm.
Manta's son.
Aquaman 2,
Black
or
Man.
the original Aquaman that was released is
Yes.
still in
Yeah.
your...
We're
okay.
keeping
I got
Aquaman.
you.
Keeping him.
Love
Fair
it.
enough.
Wonder Woman 2. Only thing with that is I don't want her to be in the past. I don't necessarily understand the point of that. I mean, if you guys can explain it, I don't really understand the point of her.
You
being
know
in the
what?
past.
I'm kind of on that same page. Like when they said it was going to be Wonder Woman 80 whatever, I was like, why?
Oh, well, to me, it's just they're cashing in on being able to do solo films for her. Because she comes in and she says, hey, I've spent a century doing all this stuff. So
Yeah.
they're like, yo, people like Wonder Woman. Let's not worry about having all the other characters. Let's set it a
I
little
get
bit
that.
farther back.
I do. But she was already based in Europe. Like when she's not with the Justice League, she's like living in France or whatever, or living in wherever the fuck she was. And
Oh.
you can do a solo movie there.
Or whatever. I don't know. I didn't really have any qualms with it, but I get what you're saying.
I mean, I'm going to see it. I'm interested. I just
Yeah.
don't.
I'm sure that Chris Pine will be in the whole movie, even though he's
Yeah.
dead.
I thought he died, but not really.
Yeah.
Ares is a master of deception.
Yeah. I got her fighting Cersei, so introduce magic into
Oh,
the
cool.
whole-
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, definitely. Superman 2, Lex gets involved. He starts cloning Superman. So that's the problem. That's where he had to face the whole time.
So is that going to lead into Superboy? Okay.
Yeah, Superboy. So if you basically get what I'm trying to go here, I'm trying to basically set up Young Justice on the low after all this.
On the low.
He's like, the whole point
Basically.
is screw all these guys.
Oh, because you
Yeah.
mentioned, obviously, the Robins. You mentioned Aqualad,
Yeah.
Superboy.
Exactly.
Are we
Slowly
going to
building
so
two
is
universes.
your Wonder Woman going to introduce Donna Troy at all?
That's the only thing I left out because I did not know who I wanted to put in there. Because I didn't know if because I like Artemis
Right.
besides Wonder Woman, but I didn't know who exactly that I want to, put it, for her sidekick, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can just start with just like the normal one because later on I got Flash, but, so he fights Lex. You know how Lex is, so.
Lex a dick. So that's
Lex
crazy
Luthor.
though that you said that. You were actually in reality building two universes simultaneously.
Pretty much. So
I am wildly not prepared to follow this, and he's not even done.
Right.
So I just got 3 more. Green Lantern Corps is the one I really want the most.
Right.
Because I couldn't figure out how can I have both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
So I decided to do this instead. I want it to be more nostalgic, so I just wanted the main Justice League team from the anime series. So I left Hal out of it. However, they're both going to be in there, and the story's going to be about both of them. Wow. And basically, the situation they're going through is they're dealing with Sinestro. So he's already betrayed them. So we're leaving that whole training thing and first meeting them. We're leaving that
I
out.
can't wait
So
to
the
talk about mine.
the fear aspect is just established.
I'm
already.
so excited to talk about
But not
mine
only
because
that-
my God, we are brains are colliding right
Exactly.
now.
I might let you go.
I'll go if you
second,
want. I'll
so
go
I
next.
can write mine.
Yeah.
As we, this
Then-
one's so good.
We teased the Red Lantern, so we actually have a reason for why Hal is there. So I basically just wanted Hal just to be in space while John is on Earth.
So just to give the listeners some context of what's going on, what is your name today, Commissioner Gordon? He is
James
he
Gordon.
is just throwing obscenities with his hands, possibly gang signs. I'm not 100% sure. He's angry. He vomited just a little bit. And I'm thinking
Because these are
there's-
such good ideas
They are. This
that
is
I
fantastic.
had and
This
wrote
is
on
so
my
good.
page,
Keep
and they're
going,
so
Tim.
similar. I love it.
So now Flash is the next one. He would be the last movie, basically.
Right.
Only thing with him, I would do his backstory because I don't think a lot of people know his backstory. I didn't know it for the longest time.
Well, and the only reason I'll disagree now is it's a very simple background or backstory, and with the popularity of the show, The Flash, I think people got the gist now.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not to like shit on what you wrote down, but like just I think that it is such a big hit. That show really did take off, especially the first season. That most people now know. A lot of people now know who Reverse Flash and
Eobard
Professor
Thawne
Zoom is and Eobard
Well, I
Thawne.
will say to your point, yes. Before I saw season 1 of The Flash, I didn't know.
I knew
anything.
it. Like I knew the
I knew
chemicals
Reverse
and the
Flash
lightning.
and-
Oh, well, you know what? I knew the Flash story. I knew his mother was killed. I didn't know it was Eobard Thawne. I wasn't that heavy into the
I
Flash
didn't know that either.
before that. I knew his mother had died, had been killed.
Because that's like a staple for Disney movies and also DC heroes.
Pretty much.
Is that the mother has to die.
Right? Yeah. Somebody has to die. That kid has to be an orphan for sure.
Disney like wears that out. Like there's always a parent, usually the mother, that has to die.
Bambi.
I just wanted this dope quote. Not quote, but just like this scene. Just like Flash is running. And basically it just pops up that not like you tell his story, but just a flashback like how he was, if he was fast enough, he could have got to his mom in time. And that will always be his thought every time he's running around. But so that's the end of him. I mean, I guess you can introduce Kid Flash, but I didn't put that in there.
Right.
So I guess it doesn't matter. So 10, basically same thing as Justice League, the movie that came out, that tragic movie, by the way.
it was a tragedy.
That tragedy of a fucking movie.
So your Flash movie, who was the villain?
I couldn't think of it.
Okay, I was just making sure I didn't miss it.
Flash
Oh
is
man,
like,
are you kidding me?
his
You
rogues
should
gallery is
totally-
not really that good.
Eobard Thawne, though, man. I would love
I
to
feel
see
like
a
it always has to be Reverse
cinematic
Flash.
version of Eobard would be my favorite.
For
But
the
you're
first
right,
movie though.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I would see.
You're right,
You could set him up like Loki, man, and just know that he's going to keep coming back.
But his rogues gallery, like what you're saying, is like
It's kinda weak.
It's stupid. It's like the dumbest, other than Eobard and.
Absolutely disagree. And we're gonna
What
get into
you got?
that.
Captain Cold and
No.
Professor Yo-Yo
Captain
and
Boomerang.
Lieutenant Ludwig.
First of all, there was no
Lollipop.
Professor Yo-Yo. It was just Yo-Yo. You
Oh, I'm
bitch.
sorry.
And
Mirror
that
Master.
that was the fucking.
His rogues are dumb.
what's it? Flashpoint timeline, anyways. And
But
that's-
Spider-Mans are all based on animals, so
yep, they are.
I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, besides like Grodd, and I mean, who else does he have?
He's Grodd,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he does have
Yeah.
Grodd.
who is a badass, by the
Yeah,
way.
true.
I'm a firm believer though that that the Flash can share rogues from other properties. I've never been a big fan of this. This person has to have their villains and their villains alone,
Unless
which
it's
is
Batman.
why characters like, well, not even necessarily, but
Arrow.
that's why characters like Deathstroke I love so much, because they can transcend
Oh yeah, he ain't
any of these.
Ooh, Jinx, you owe me $36.
Blowjob. What?
Dude, this is a family.
Yeah, this is a family
Jesus.
family friendly show.
All right, Tim.
Yeah, so just round it up. Justice League movie. Steppenwolf will come back. Except for I
What?
want it different.
Oh,
I want it different though, because I kept thinking about Loki for some reason. Because I was like, I cannot do like Marvel's doing. We gotta separate ourselves.
Right.
So this is gonna be wild. Steppenwolf comes. Obviously, same mission for Darkseid, but what's different is he has Starro. He has full control of Starro.
Yes.
And he's using Starro to take over. the
Fuck
Earth.
yeah.
wow.
Starro is
Yeah.
all right. I'm on board.
Then, because of this situation, that's how we get introduced to Martian Manhunter.
I didn't even
Oh,
think about
and then he
Starro.
leaves it.
Exactly.
Is this the end of what you have?
So that was just that final team up. I couldn't think of how to put Hawkgirl in there. At first, I had put her like she shows up in Wonder Woman. 'Cause I
Right.
feel like
Oh, that'd
that'd
be
be
cool.
more, it make more sense. But I didn't know she would be in a whole movie, or she just appeared and disappeared and then come back for this. I couldn't. I'm not much of a fan of Hawkgirl. I like her.
I love
But
Hawkgirl.
it's just, I
I
don't-
actually
Yeah.
have been getting a lot more interested in her character lately, which is
Yeah.
interesting, just because she really does have a neat kind of lore, and it went from it went from being the fact that she was just like through time and she had all these lives to
Yeah.
now not only that, but she's from a whole nother planet, like she's from Thanagar,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, I love it. I think she's cool.
The Thanagar story is better. The one from what was it? What's the other CW show? The time traveling one.
Yeah.
Legends of Tomorrow.
Legends of
That
Tomorrow.
one where she.
It's the
played-
same. It's the
God,
same
that was
thing
annoying.
though,
Yeah.
because she came from Thanagar, but she then landed on Earth, or became part of, or whatever the fuck happened. But she
Yeah.
still was from Egypt and all that stuff. But before that, Thanagar.
Okay.
Which I'm a big. I don't know. I think her lore is super interesting, and I think that Hawkman, his lore and the way that they've treated him, especially through, if you read Dark Knight's Metal and if you read like a lot of like Dark Knight's Metal was the coolest Hawkman. Like, even though he wasn't in a whole lot of it, what they did with him was so cool to me, and
Yeah.
there was just a lot of that interesting shit. But yeah, man, that's cool. I like that you're bringing those characters into it.
Yeah. So basically, I'm just trying to like.
I didn't. I'll tell you, I didn't.
Yeah.
I thought of Martian Manhunter, and I didn't. I was like, I didn't have a solid place to put him in, so I didn't even write it.
I had to replace Cyborg. I couldn't see anywhere I could put Cyborg in there. But I didn't want to do the Marvel way where you have the original team and then you just replace them after one phase. I don't want that. I feel
Right.
like they're gonna last, but the sidekicks, of course, they will grow up and they'll eventually not take their place but work together.
And technically, and maybe I'm wrong, but DC doesn't feel like it's as vast as Marvel. So maybe Marvel has replaceable characters, like interchangeable parts. As far as like, you have the Avengers team. So many people have been part of the Avengers team over the years that they are kind of interchangeable. And I don't just mean casting wise. I mean like Tony Stark is dead now, right? We can move on without him, and it's gonna make us all sad, but only because they built up this universe, right? But when you think of the Justice League, first of all, the Trinity is the Trinity.
Yeah.
And you can interchange the Lanterns and Hawkgirl and Martian Manhunter and certain things of that aspect, but for the most part, the Trinity is the Trinity. So removing Cyborg is fine.
Yeah.
And putting him with the Titans or Young Justice is fine. You know what I mean? So I get where you're coming from that. What about you, Matt? Do you concur?
Yep. Oh no, I thought your universe was fantastic.
Yeah.
I loved it. Quick question: in Justice League 1, I keep thinking I missed things just in case. But who was the villain in your Justice League 1?
So I'm keeping Steppenwolf, but
Okay.
he's using Starro.
Well, I was gonna say
Oh,
you
has
only
control
had
of Starro.
one
Yeah.
Justice League.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you
Yeah,
had
yeah.
two Justice League.
No,
Okay.
So he has the right idea, the same thing I had,
I
where
gotcha.
it all leads up to one big team.
I got you. I thought
Yeah.
that was Justice League 2. Okay.
No.
But
Yeah.
how awesome was that he ended with introducing Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, I'm on it.
That was awesome.
Yeah, so
Fantastic.
with Starro and then like Cersei and stuff like that, and then the Green Lanterns, what they're dealing with, that's just like a whole bunch of movies you can just go off of that because it expands the universe more.
Right.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Fantastic. All right.
All right, Matt, do you want me to go? Or
Yes.
all right,
Yes,
I'll
I
go.
do.
So, yeah, I'm super excited to talk about this. Oh my gosh. My first movie is I'm starting with Matt Reeves' Batman. Matt Reeves' Batman is actually going to, and I call it Matt Reeves' Batman because I really am a proponent for Pattinson. I'm really interested in seeing his version. I think he looks-wise is great. Again, I've seen a lot of his stuff. He's a phenomenal actor, and I'm really interested into the time where he's being brought in and like the age that he's portraying for Batman. Mm-hmm. So I say Matt Reeves' Batman, but I kind of made it my own thing. So for my Batman story being the first one is we're going with a Long Halloween style where, which I think is similar to what Matt Reeves is doing, where we're having several villains that kind of like an Arkham storyline, like the Arkham, one of the Arkham video games. So I stole from them a little bit to where it's just a night long of Batman taking down villains and having to fuck with villains and having to, do stuff like that. And our main villains are going to be some of the popular rogues. We have Poison Ivy, Freeze, Mad Hatter, Riddler, Two-Face, and Penguin. And the reason is that I thought they were all good boss enough that while he's, just like you said, it's a very detective-heavy movie. He's trying to find out why, just like in the Arkham games, why they're all acting up now, why, who's orchestrating all this and what's going on. Because clearly somebody has put all these villains up to wreaking havoc in the city tonight.
Right.
So a lot of stuff is already established. He already has these established. It's still young Batman, but a lot of these villains are already established. I don't want a bunch of fucking origin stories. Like, I'm sorry, my movie is these characters already. You're gonna get the gist. That's not to say I don't want character development, but for the most part, come on, like we don't need origins and big dramatic stories on every single one. This movie is also going to have a split timeline. So while Batman is, or not a split timeline, but a split like subplot.
Uh-huh.
So while Batman is detectiving and he's trying to find out what is going on, who's causing all this, who's behind it, in a hush sort of manner. It's not going to be hush. Big spoilers, not hush. But a young Dick Grayson is also introduced off in another subplot. And Dick Grayson, prior to this movie, his parents have already been killed. Commissioner Gordon has placed him in the boys' home in Gotham, and he is constantly sneaking out of that boys' home to search for his parents' murderer, much like Carrie Kelly in The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah. So
he is sneaking out and robbing all by himself. And I just love that idea. Like, he's just going out and fighting, like he's fighting thugs and like trying to find ideas. So like a teenage kind of rowdy, I don't mean like a 10-year-old Robin. He's probably like, 15, somewhere in that area.
Right.
Going out, and he has a lot of acrobatic prowess, and he's skilled for what he is, without ever meeting Batman. And he's going out and trying to find. So those two plots are kind of happening simultaneously, and we're going to cut back and forth between them. Like I said, heavy detective elements. While Dick is getting around kind of fighting low-level thugs, Batman is being put through the gauntlet of these supervillains, going, between the Hatter and up to... I love the idea of the Riddler and how while all this is happening, just like in the games, like I think, let me just point out there that I still think that if you got whoever is writing these Arkham games, whoever's like conceptualizing these games, if you just make them write a movie, we'd have the best fucking Batman movie in the world.
They kind of,
you know what I mean? Like it would just be amazing. So the Riddler is kind of like fucking with shit from his control center, and Batman's trying to find the connection between these attacks. So their storylines between Dick Grayson and Batman are going to merge in the third act. So while Batman is kind of fighting maybe Poison Ivy, and Dick is trying to find where, he's getting closer, or feels like he's getting closer to finding out who killed his parents, or where, what was his name? Tony Zuko's who killed his parents. He's getting closer to uncovering that information, they collide in Gotham City, and then they have to fight side by side for a minute. Obviously, it's still a younger Batman, so he's not the most experienced, the most, on his ball, so he doesn't have the sense of getting the boy out of the way. They're just trying to survive at this point. But he sees, man, this kid has got some skill. So Batman, at the end of this, Batman kind of brings Dick to the Wayne Manor. And we're going to skip a little bit to, Days of Recovery later. Batman presents Dick with the Robin costume. He learns of everything that happened, how his parents were killed, and wants to take in, just like the Batman story, wants to take this boy in and take his mind off of so much revenge as becoming the best, Batman and detective that he can be. And that's kind of how the movie's going to end, with him presenting Robin with the Robin costume. Obviously, Alfred's going to be there, being old as fuck. And my end credit scene, though, is this is the only Batman movie that's going to be in that time, okay? Because the end credit scene even is going to jump forward in time, a couple years. And the end credit sequence is Dick walking out the door with a pack, obviously leaving Wayne Manor, and Batman being like, Dick, think about what you're doing. It doesn't need to be like this. You leave now, and you leave for good.
Right.
And Dick saying something along the lines of, I can't work next to somebody day after day who I just don't trust. And I'm going to show you what a real hero can be.
Gotcha.
And he leaves for Bloodhaven.
Man.
Right on.
Okay, that's my end credit scene.
I like it.
So we go into we have the early timeline. And when I wrote this, I got really excited because I think I'm clever. But when, this first Batman movie is going to be introing to who Batman is, obviously. And I don't mean in the fact we're not doing origins. We're just showing his prowess in a long Halloween Arkham Asylum style gauntlet, introducing Dick Grayson, and then immediately we're jumping forward to he's leaving to go be Nightwing.
Right on.
And that's a big part.
I love it.
The second movie is not going to connect at all, and I got this idea from Guardians of the Galaxies. The next one is going to be New Gods, very Mr. Miracle heavy. So it's going to be Mr. Miracle and Orion.
So your universe is we're about to be trippy. Like, it's about to be
weird. We're getting intergalactic for sure.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
So we have, so we're going to open the movie where it's kind of telling, this is where we're going to have a little bit of origin, because I don't think a lot of people are familiar with the origin of Mr. Miracle. And it's going to open showing the tale of how the wars between Apocalypse and New Genesis. It's going to show the peace treaty between Darkseid and Highfather, where they trade their infant children. Which Highfather, his son Scott, trades to Darkseid for Darkseid's son Orion. And they're raised on the opposing worlds, which is such a fucking bizarre, origin in the first place. But it makes for some really good content, right? And this movie is going to focus on, at least the first act, is going to focus on Scott being raised in the slave pits of Apocalypse, and him being under the tutelage of Granny Goodness. And we're going to get intro to Granny Goodness. We're going to see Darkseid, but very minimal Darkseid, just enough to get people excited and be like, oh, he looks amazing. Because in my head, it's like Thanos level of CGI kind of shit. And so we're going to see him being raised by Granny Goodness in the slave pits of Apocalypse. We're also going to get flashes to Orion being raised in a life of luxury on New Genesis as Highfather's new child. And we're also going to get a lot of, Orion may be taught tactical, and may be taught what the Highfather knows on how to strategize and run a planet and war and whatnot. Scott is learning how to escape, which is what Mr. Miracle does. He's a master. He can escape anything. So he's learning how to escape the torture devices, all the slave pits. He's learning how to run, and each time he gets further and further away before he gets caught, right? So he gets farther and he's able to escape and get out of these crazy things. We're going to intro Big Barda and the Furies as part of their, obviously Apocalypse's Death Squad. This is going to come later, obviously, as Scott is a little older, Big Barda. And, I just think it's going to be a really cool thing to have. And I really want to highlight what a dick Orion clearly is. He's not necessarily a bad guy, but he is still a dick, right? Yeah. So, finally Scott escapes enough to get to I don't remember what the room is called, but Darkseid has his room full of mother boxes, like literally, like it's a vault of mother boxes, and Scott gets in and steals a mother box, and Barda decides they've been falling in love this entire time, right? So she decides to leave with him, and they boom tube right into the heart of Los Angeles. And the movie is going to end with them meeting Funky Flashman. So Funky Flashman, who's a big part of the Mr. Miracle, you're giving me a look, but big part. He was actually a jab at Stan Lee, and like he says Excelsior all the time. And he in the original comics he was like a villain, he was a prick. But in like the later Mr. Miracle, he's like Scott's agent. And this Mr. Miracle is going to be treated. He's funny, right? So it is what he is. But I want him to not be so much a joke. So I want him to be kind of the Ant-Man character without telling a Paul Rudd joke every 2 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the movies are maybe a little more lighthearted. Like imagine if you were raised in those slave pits for your entire life, and you were the type of person who the only way you could cope was being like making jokes, and then you finally come to LA where you're not a part of that anymore. You're not necessarily grumpy, you know. He's a funny guy, but I don't want him to be as Paul Rudd. And I love Paul Rudd, don't get me wrong, but I think some of the Ant-Man movies fell flat because it's like every fucking line was a quip or a joke or whatever. But yeah, that's my New Gods. And it's not necessarily going to connect because I want it to circle back around later. And then right after that, we're going to have Green Lantern Corps. Oh, go ahead.
So real quick, I don't mean to interrupt, but what about the Sod?
Huh?
The Sod, the creepy guy, the scientist, whatever.
Desaad.
Is he gonna be in there?
I didn't even think about it, to be honest.
Also, I was wondering because you mentioned everybody else but him. I was like, where's this creepy guy gonna be introduced? Like, is he gonna be in a room with all the mother boxes or anything? I don't know.
You know, I didn't even think about it, to be honest. I was just like in my head, I was like, now here's the thing: is that they get to LA, and I want it to end on something kind of like dun dun dun. I wanted to have a good end credit scene. All my movies would have like dope end credit scenes, by the way, like the early MCU did. But I don't know. Maybe that's a good thing to introduce, you know. So maybe, you know, at least it can't be too easy, right? Like maybe the way I explain it, it's so easy. He escapes and he goes and gets a mother box.
Yeah.
So there's gonna have to be like a final. I need, you know, fight for the mother box, you know, and that could be it. But that's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
So does that, for your movies, does that make Darkseid aware of Earth?
Oh yeah, so yeah, that's gonna be, and that's kind of what my thought was. It's gonna link to eventually drawing those forces towards Earth.
Okay.
Whether he's in search of Scott himself or whether he's just out for, I'm pissed that you got one over on me. You know, nobody fucks with Darkseid. But the very next one is gonna be Green Lantern Corps. And it's going to focus on Hal Jordan because it's actually just like you said, I don't want him to be on Earth too much right now. Mm-hmm. I want him to be, so this movie picks up, he's already been chosen. We don't need to see, what's his name die. We don't need to see, Albin Sur. We don't need to see Albin Sur die. We don't need to see him get, you know, come to grips. We don't need the first Green Lantern movie again. You know what I mean? So he's kind of out there. He's been training. He's with Kilowog, you know, and just like you said, Sinestro has already turned, and he's already Lantern of Fear, and he is seeking out all the other colored lanterns on the spectrum, including the blue lanterns and the red lanterns. And we are going to introduce Atrocitus with the red lanterns. And basically, the second big bad would be Atrocitus alongside. Now, he wouldn't convert or anything. He would just be another, like, I think in my head, like, Sinestro tries to recruit him, and he's so powerful in his rage that it does not go well, you know. So the enemy of my enemy is still my enemy, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I want the end of that movie to be like an all-out brawl. Of course, we're going to get a lot of like Hal Jordan doing missions and kind of figuring out like, oh man, Sinestro's building an army or trying to build an army. And the end of this movie is going to be like an all-out brawl between the different lanterns. So you're going to see the blues, the reds, the greens, the yellows, and it's just going to be a big space. I just picture in my head like a big Star Wars style space war, but with lanterns.
Nice.
And I think it'd be dope. And the reason for that is I just want to introduce the idea of the lanterns and Hal in general. He's out there, you know. I want to introduce the different colored lanterns because they're going to play a part, you know, maybe down the road. But they don't necessarily need to come back to Earth. We don't necessarily need them to interact with the other characters right now. They will later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me think. My next movie is going to come back to, it is going to be Nightwing. It's a Nightwing solo movie. So obviously the end scene that we got was him leaving. And
Great end credit scene, by the way. I'm like imagining that in my head, and it's just that like if I saw that movie and then it happened right at the end like that, I'd be like,
yeah,
like just want to see more.
I thought it'd be cool.
Yeah.
So this Nightwing is also going to be a little bit of a time jump. I don't want to keep jumping like forward too much and make it like stupid, but I don't. Again, I'm not interested in doing like a lot of origins. I want him to. We now know who the character is. We know who Dick Grayson is, and we know he left. So this is going to pick up to him. He's been Nightwing for about 2 years, right? He's been Nightwing. Or at least a year. He's a year into being Nightwing. So we pick up on him in Bloodhaven. He actually is returning to Gotham because he heard about the death of Jason Todd.
Okay.
Right?
Good. Yeah.
So he's returning to Gotham because he heard about the death of Jason Todd. Okay. And he knew that Bruce might be off the rails a little bit. And he doesn't know how Bruce is going to handle it. So he's going back to, you know, show support and, you know, go see him. Which is why, again, in my head, he's been Nightwing for like 2 years because that'll give us enough time. Jason Todd was only Robin for about a year before he was killed.
Pretty much.
So while he's in Gotham, he decides to go on patrol, get a little air, and he runs into the mysterious Azrael.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
So he encounters Azrael. Azrael obviously presenting himself as a friend. Azrael reveals that he can help Dick. You know, he's like, I know you've been gone for a while, but I know who killed your family. His name is Tony Zuko, and I can help you find him, and I can help you get the revenge that you've always wanted on him. So they hunt down Tony Zuko, and Dick doesn't have the heart to do it. And right as Dick doesn't have the heart to do it, Azrael puts a sword right through his fucking chest. So you get a lot... Batman, by the way, for the majority of this movie is sulking. I mean, he's really fucked up.
I was going to say, is he even there?
He's really fucked up. You're going to see him. Yeah. Like, it's not going to be like where he's just mentioned.
Remember how I always joke about there's things where people say, Batman's gone. Where is he? I don't know. He's gone.
So that's... And again, Dick is out. This is kind of his own adventure in Gotham.
Right.
Because Batman's... He needed air. He needed to get out of the mansion.
Right on.
And Batman is really messed up. And of course, I expect expert Alfred dialogue for a lot of this, like a lot of the scenes in the mansion.
That's what makes a true hero, young Dick.
I would like to. This is not. I didn't even write this down, but I would really like to incorporate Barbara somehow being in his ear. She doesn't have to be Oracle by this point. She doesn't have to be really.
And Dick's ear?
Yeah, but like she's worried about him, and you know he's home after he's been gone for 2 years, and.
Yeah.
So, you know, as he's doing what she's kind of still being the man in the chair without being either really Oracle. She could be Oracle, I don't know. But
she's not a man or in a chair. She could be standing.
Yeah, right. She doesn't have to be in a chair at all.
Spoiler alert, she gets paralyzed.
So Azrael is introduced and he kills Zuko. I honestly, God, I didn't know how to... incorporate this, but boom, Ra's al Ghul is in town, and this may sound like overkill at this point, but again, this is kind of in this vein of Ra's al Ghul should be established. People know who Ra's al Ghul is in some capacity, but I need Ra's al Ghul to be a known presence for what comes later.
I like what you just did because I'm just gonna let you know I did a lot of that too, where I just put like this is gonna be a point.
Right.
I'm not 100% of how I'm gonna tie it in.
If you give me a couple weeks, I swear to God, I'll write this fucking movie. I really will.
Yeah, I love it, dude. It's awesome.
I want Ra's al Ghul to be a part because I want him to be what brings Batman out of like what am I trying to say? He brings Batman out of his like Batman is like, I can't just slump around the house. It's Ra's al Ghul. So Batman's out and he's like, we need, Dick, I'm going to need your help on this one. And Azrael, who just killed Tony Zuko, but is still for all intents and purposes a good guy, he says, I know of Ra's al Ghul and his power with the Lazarus pits. I can help you, right? So they team up. There's a big fight with the League of Shadows and Ra's al Ghul. Big fucking shock. Azrael's a bad guy. He reveals that he's working with the League of Shadows because they have similar interests to the Order of Saint Dumas, right? I don't know how, but somehow I'm going to. This is not for this movie. I just wrote this as a note. But Jon Stewart will be introduced in one of these soon movies because again, Hal is going to be. Hal is off world. He's gone. Nobody even really knows about Hal. That's one of the things about that animated movie, Justice League War, that I really loved, was that Hal was the Green Lantern and he was meeting all of them, but they were like, who are you? Like,
to be fair, what I mean? It's almost very similar to how they portrayed Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Which I thought was great. Like, it was cool.
Good point. Yeah, absolutely. So I just want Jon Stewart to come in as a character, just as a, he's not a lantern or anything. He's just there. We know he's a thing.
It's like that where the fans were like, oh my God, we know Jon Stewart's a lantern, but he's not a lantern at that point.
Right.
That's awesome.
So basically there's going to be a big fight, big climactic scene with the League of Shadows and Azrael. Maybe we learn a little bit about the Order of Saint Dumas just through passing. And then, all right, Ra's retreats till next time, Detective. I need him to call him Detective in this fucking movie. I just need him to say till we meet again, Detective. Kind of thing. I will cream my pants in the theater right there.
Oh my God!
And I just need it to happen. But
then you can call him Roz, and then you can get really upset.
Yeah. Then they call him Roz, and
you got it, Roz.
I just start firing shots at the screen.
Oh,
oh wait, we can't make a joke about that in the Batman movie. But yeah, so Ra's retreats, and then Nightwing is kind of left to deal with Azrael by himself, right? And the Azrael situation, he's not going to die. None of my villains are one-offs, by the way. I don't plan on any of my villains like dying. Just retreating until a further time of,
sure.
We're going to come back and fuck up some shit. So Azrael as well, that, big ending of we're fighting, Nightwing. I still want it to end on a big Nightwing note. And then Azrael retreats into the shadows and, but the thing about Azrael is he does have a change of heart later. So I don't want him to stay bad. Of course, he realizes that the Order of Saint Dumas was lying to him, and I don't know how I'm going to incorporate that into the movies, but I'm just saying. But yeah, any questions on that one? Because I got something cool coming up next.
I had one question. What was it going to be? I don't have a question.
Fair enough.
But I do like it. That was awesome. Yeah. Like, you took a lot of between you two so far, I love it because it's completely different, but you're taking all these aspects that I wouldn't have thought of immediately, but they're all when someone says it's all stuff I didn't know I needed, that's all stuff I didn't know I needed. Well,
and that's the thing is
awesome.
I really just I was like, all right, if I could put anything into these movies, what have I always wanted to be in these movies?
I'm sitting there thinking of what you're describing, having Azrael and the League of Shadows in a big finale fight.
Right.
I'm like,
and I want it to be
amazing.
Nasty. I want it to be a really cool all-out brawl between Batman, Nightwing, Azrael, League. I mean, and what is cool about that is it'll really showcase not just Batman and Nightwing's prowess, but Azrael's as well. And Ra's, of course, will kind of be in the foreground of orchestrating this. I don't think he's going to get a lot of hands-on. I want a good scene of Batman throwing a kick and it just passing through him and him evaporating into smoke or kind of some weird shit like that, He is, because he's going to come back in a big bad way later. And that my favorite thing about Ra's al Ghul is the best villains don't believe they're villains.
Yeah, they think they're doing right.
Him and Azrael, they think they have purpose. They're not just there to cause havoc. They're not just there to be bad guys. They're there because they believe in their quest, right? And later that's going to come in handy, and that's going to come in into a really cool ground, because the next movie is the first team up movie, and it's not a Justice League movie. My next movie is Legion of Doom. Let me tell you why. Legion of Doom is going to show Lex Luthor assemble the Legion of Doom. All right. Our main villains are going to be Deathstroke, who we previously were introduced to in an end credit scene. Now, again, I am retconning a lot of those movies, but just assuming we can have Deathstroke. We're going to have Deathstroke. We're going to have Grodd, which is going to be a big intro to Flash and what's going to happen coming up next. Deathstroke, Grodd, Joker has to be a part of the movie. Come on, dude. We just went through like a bunch of movies, including Batman, that didn't have the Joker in them. He's coming around now.
That's funny you said that, because even me, I'm like, I don't.
I just feel like he would just like mess the whole thing up, which you might have planned in it.
Well, and again, in all iterations of the comic, including the current one, the Joker's a big part of the Legion of Doom. There's a reason I put him in there, because he is the Antichrist. I mean,
yes, pretty much.
He is the only reason he is playing ball with Lex Luthor, or he has ever played ball with Lex Luthor, is because he thinks it is going to be he's going to get the ultimate joke across, and it's going to be nasty. And if I'm being honest, because all the notes I wrote on this page, the Joker doesn't even need to be here. I just want him because he feels like he should be.
He doesn't need to be there. I want him there.
Yeah, I want him there. So
it's your world, man. Bob Ross. It's your world.
Deathstroke, Grodd, Joker, and Sinestro. So that's how we're going to start connecting the Green Lanterns. Sinestro's on world, and we're going to reveal the reason why they've all agreed to team up with him, because Lex has a dormant, and I do mean dormant, Brainiac that he is currently trying to bring back into an open state. Let me tell you, Lex doesn't know what the fuck he's messing with.
Yep.
But Brainiac's coming in. You know what I mean?
Similar to, let's go ahead and make a Doomsday.
Okay, yeah, but come on, not that. Not
take
that
my DNA.
Shitty. Yeah, he's not.
And you're like, yeah, not like that. But anyways, he's in a ship. He's in a Kryptonian ship, and it says to make a Brainiac, I have to cut my hand.
So I want it to be the first team up movie, because it's going to really introduce. So this is going to introduce the Flash into this, because we haven't gotten a lot of him. But it's going to introduce like the Flash. We're going to see the Joker be, even if he's a small part of it, but Sinestro, which is going to, and I don't think, I didn't put, so Hal Jordan's still not in this movie, even though Sinestro is. And the reason is, this is the movie where Jon Stewart will be granted as a Green Lantern in Hal's absence, especially with Sinestro being on Earth and being part of this. So we have Sinestro. Our superhero roster is going to be huge. Mm-hmm. Superman, all right? Shazam, Batman, Flash, Nightwing, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Mr. Miracle, Big Barda. Pretty much everyone we've been introduced to already. Pretty much everyone we have solid. Because just like you, I did keep Aquaman and Wonder Woman. They're still a part of this. And Superman. I left Superman. And you know what? If I could, I'm using your Superman movie. Your Superman movie is now my intro of Superman into my world.
That's now canon, baby.
Yeah, this is officially a writer's room. But yeah, this is probably my most outlandish idea, because it's just gonna be big. It's gonna be sexy. It's gonna be Michael Bay as fuck.
Whoa.
And yeah, but in needing a lantern, Jon Stewart is chosen to be Earth's new lantern in Hal's absence. First huge team up movie. Oh, I actually wrote on here Flash movie first. I should have read that. And the Flash movie is, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's why I did it, because the Flash movie is Flashpoint, and that's gonna come right before Legion. That's gonna come right before Legion of Doom.
All right.
And I wrote "Nuff said" because it's fucking Flashpoint. Reverse Flash. The only thing I'm adding into Flashpoint is we're gonna get some Grodd. I just want Grodd in there. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I think it's pretty easy to slip Grodd into Flashpoint somehow, even if it's an alternate reality Grodd. And yeah, all the good shit we got from Flashpoint. So we're going to do Flashpoint, Legion of Doom, which is going to be a big just team-up fuck of a movie. And then, my second to last movie is going to be Batman Under the Red Hood.
Oh, thank you.
Because we got... So, in Nightwing, he came back because of the death of Jason Todd. We were introduced to Ra's, and we were introduced to the Lazarus Pits. and we're just gonna do Under the Red Hood.
Bing,
and
bang,
I'm
boom.
not changing a fucking thing. It's gonna be exactly
yeah.
what it is. I literally just wrote basically Under the Red Hood, but on TV. And I even wrote a note that said, I just want to see this live. So that's it. And then my last movie...
I have a note that's very similar to that in mine.
My last movie is going to be called Justice League Apocalypse.
Uh-oh.
And this is going to show a fully formed Justice League now that Scott and Big Barda are, together. And they were part of the Legion of Doom movie, but now that Scott and Big Barda has kind of acquainted themselves with kind of like that epicness of when the Guardians met everybody, you know what I mean, like when they finally were introduced to the Avengers.
Hilarious.
We're gonna have that kind of moment, and then Justice League Apocalypse is gonna take the whole crew to Apocalypse, and it's gonna be one big storm on Apocalypse. And this is where this is Darkseid's movie. Okay. This is where Darkseid shows why he is not to be fucked with, because all the heroes we have, which is now going to be 2 Lanterns, because Hal is being brought into this one, 2 Lanterns and Shazam and Soups and Bats and all the fucking people we can get, and it's still going to be tough as shit. And that's all I got.
Will they lose at the end of this movie?
I didn't think that far ahead. That'd be good though, because we need to continue. So maybe I'm not going to Infinity War it.
Somebody needs to die.
Yeah, somebody.
And they're not coming back.
I don't have a Tony Stark. It can be Hot Girl, but it doesn't matter if she dies, because she will come back somehow. But yeah,
cool.
And again, if you guys are listening and you're thinking like, man, these guys are fucking stupid. Yeah, we didn't didn't spend a lot of time.
With it.
I wrote all this in a night. While I was watching Naruto, so I just want to point out
I wrote
that
all of mine while you were explaining yours. So if you guys thought those were bad, just wait.
That being said, if you think that our ideas are really good, we have a GoFundMe account being set up for us
Kickstarter
for us to make this a reality.
Yeah, pretty much.
But real quick, I do want to, before Matt goes on to his thing, or his DCEU, I do just want to shout out real quick. If you guys could. Made it this far, please go like our Facebook page, the Bat in the Hat Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at BatHatOfficial, and make sure you follow us on whatever your favorite podcast listening app. And please, for God's sakes, leave us a rating, because it just makes us look good. Matt?
All right, so my saga universe, if you will, I think I was very ambitious I tried to make a very crazy, intertwining, twisty-turny sort of long story between all the films, and I'm not sure that I executed very well, but we're going to give it a shot. And I'm going to make some of it up as I go.
All right, go ahead.
And I may need some help.
Sure.
So I have this grand vision. My universe will start with Superman as well, and it will be Man of Steel. However, let me tell you how my whole universe will start. This will be the opening sequence of Superman 1. Let's call it Man of Steel. You're going to essentially, you're going to see Apocalypse. Like, you will see Darkseid's home planet. You will see Apocalypse, and it's, fire, hellfire, blah, 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 this, and this. And you're not going to necessarily see him. You're going to see a silhouette, and you're going to hear him say, "Speak to me, mother." And you're going to hear this creepy, womanly, robotic voice, and she says, "Your reign will come to ruin by the Kryptonian and the demon." And that's all you're going to get. So you're going to be like, what the hell was that? That's how my universe is going to start. So you're going to be like, what the hell was that?
Head scratcher.
Then jump right into Man of Steel, right?
Mm-hmm.
My difference is the main villain will be Metallo. It's not going to be General Zod. It's going to be Metallo. And it's going to go very similar to Man of Steel. Like, he's going to find his way, blah, 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 blah. Metallo is going to come down. It's going to be kind of like Thor. Kind of like Thor 1. Remember how they sent the Destroyer? Mm-hmm. And, like, he kind of ends up doing that kind of thing. So it's going to be Metallo, essentially Man of Steel. You're going to be happy because he's going to get rid of Metallo, but are you going to be upset because he's not really killing a human? He's just getting rid of a
That's
thing.
That's fine, because Metallo just comes right back anyway.
Yeah, you did just also remind me that if I'm doing Under the Red Hood for mine, I can have a Mazo in it.
Yeah.
And that would be a really dope
Yeah.
sequence.
So he's gonna, it's gonna just essentially think it is Man of Steel, but it's gonna be Metallo as the villain instead of Zod. There's no Zod. There's none of this.
Right.
So he's gonna obviously overcome, save the day, blah blah blah. I'm with you. Lois is gonna have less screen time in my Man of Steel. I have a very funny thing I wanted to say while you're describing yours, but I was gonna wait. My roommate actually all the time he says in Man of Steel, 80% of the movie is Lois in trouble. Like, just stay home. Like, obviously all you do is get into trouble, and that's like distracting him from his main goals. So, but yes, here's the twist. At the end, it's gonna go up into space. You're gonna be in a ship. You're not on Apocalypse, so it's not Darkseid. We know that was related to Darkseid at the beginning. And it's gonna show somebody in a chair, and they're gonna say the organism failed to wipe out the Kryptonian, and it's gonna end up being Brainiac. So he sent Metallo down to kill, because he's doing the whole I'm not wasting my time. The Kryptonian's a peon kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So he sent Metallo. Gonna be a very similar, if I want something done, I'm gonna go do it myself. That's where you end that off with Man of Steel. So in Man of Steel, you got to see Metallo. He's a very, he was a tough villain, but he was a one-off. You're gonna assume that Darkseid was introduced in the very beginning with that very ominous quote that you don't know what the hell that has anything to do with, but I promise it will never be explained. Just kidding, it will.
I like it.
And then, of course, ending the film with Brainiac. You actually get to see Brainiac. You're going to see what he looks like.
Which, I just want to interject. The new season of Krypton is happening, right? Which I just was watching, Kevin Smith. They do their podcast, Fat Man Beyond. And they just had the star of Krypton, the guy who plays Kal-El's grandfather, on there. And he was, first of all, wonderfully well-spoken person, and he was explaining the show perfectly. And he truly is a nerd. He said, he's been reading comics his whole life, and he's a big Superman nerd. So when he talks about it, you connect as a nerd because he's dropping references. But he was talking about how this season, not only do we get full on Brainiac and Lobo, which Lobo's like the main part of, and Lobo's getting his own Showbo, as they say, because they're going to do a spin-off Lobo show, which is I think cool on Sci-Fi. But they're bringing in Doomsday, and he said that Doomsday, the effect, and I've seen the pictures and stuff. You can find them on the internet. It's practical effects. It's a big puppet, like animatronic puppet, and then in motion it's CGI. But the only reason I'm bringing this up is because it's interesting how I've always wanted Brainiac, in a live action, especially like a movie like that. Like I think that'd be amazing. Mm-hmm. I love what you just how you ended that because. Again, I don't think everything needs to jump the gun. You can save him for the next movie and keep us waiting. But I think it's really cool because the Brainiac we're getting on Krypton looks amazing. Mm-hmm. I think it's obvious that Doomsday's a puppet, but in a good way. It just looks very practical, but he looks very gravelly and
he looks
spiky
pretty good, actually.
And like he's got elephantitis or something, and it's he looks really cool. So I just find that interesting that. We have TV shows now that seem to be doing it so well, and it makes me really have hope that our movies are going to start doing it really well, especially when we just had a masterful scene in the CW shows of King Shark versus Gorilla Grodd this last season of Flash. Nothing about that fight sequence was short of awesome. It didn't look bad at all, and we're talking about full feature-length movies, and a person like Brainiac deserves to look good. And we said the same thing about Darkseid, right? If we're going to be bringing Darkseid, he needs to be imposing and not laughable. And I guess what I'm saying is I'm so afraid of getting what we got in X-Men Apocalypse because I think that was such a travesty of effects, and it truly, as much as I think Oscar Isaac is a fantastic actor, it truly lacked the imposing fear of Apocalypse, that entire movie. And I don't just mean to shit on the X-Men movies. I just mean that I'm so afraid of that. So when you bring up a character like Brainiac, which I had Brainiac, right? Yeah, I had Brainiac, and I'm sorry, I'm tired. But yeah, when you bring up a character like Brainiac, in my head, the first thing I go to is he better not be what we got in X-Men Apocalypse.
That was Ivan Ooze.
That's my line now of shit. So I'm very interested in what you just said about your Man of Steel, because Metallo's a really great one too.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. And again, like I said, he's going to get his due justice in the movie, but he's only going to be used once. He will be just a one-off.
Yeah.
So one thing I forgot to mention, it's basically Man of Steel, so Clark is going to be, Kal-El is going to be sent to Earth. And when his ship comes to Earth, I haven't decided how it would be, but it's going to be very exaggerated when the ship breaks into the atmosphere. Like, it's implying that no matter where you are on that day, you knew something happened, right? So it'll be like a lightning storm or, seismic. Anyways, it's just going to be very like, oh, shit. Like, there's no way I could have not known that happened.
Well, and I love, to that point, you obviously remember Smallville. Mm-hmm. They always treated it like the meteor shower, like ever since the meteor shower. It was such a big deal, not just to Smallville, but to the surrounding areas, Metropolis and whatnot, that it was like in the later like Marvel movies, the attack on New York was like referred to as the event, or ever since the event or the attack. So I assume that's what you're going for, like that feel of like everybody doesn't know that Kal-El was necessarily involved, but that event in itself was so like...
Exactly. So when it took place, literally everybody knew like it happened. But you're right, they didn't know what it was. Which leads me into my next film. It's going to be Batman, #1.
Batman.
So in my Batman, similar to what you had mentioned, Tim, so Man of Steel is going to show an origin. This movie is not going to focus on Batman's origin. Like, we know it. So, however, there is going to be a scene where, because you can't really get through a Batman movie without going to the theater and seeing his parents getting gunned down in the alley.
Right.
The only difference is when they are walking in the alley, that same event that I had mentioned happened that same night when Clark came to Earth.
Does it happen at the same time? Like, are they?
No, not like simultaneous. They got shot when. It's more like, I'm thinking more like when they're walking up to the theater.
And he looks up.
And they're gonna look up and see, what the hell was that?
My only question to that is that if it's like that big of a like grand scale, which I don't hate the idea. I love the idea that their origins start at like the same time, which would appropriately put Batman at least a few years older.
He's 8 years older than
Superman.
And Clark.
My only question is, like, if you're walking into a theater and you look up and there's like this ground shattering like meteor storm, are you just gonna be like, huh, neat, and walk into the theater?
That's why I was saying, like, I don't want it to be like, oh god, the world's ending, but I want it to be something that wouldn't be missed,
like a spectacle at least.
It was like, what the hell was that? So anyways, well, thank you for killing that vibe for me. I really appreciate it.
I'm just asking, like, I'm curious.
So anyways, as they, he's going to have a flashback, and because he's going to have seen the events of the previous Man of Steel movie. And then they're just going to show that little flashback, and they're going to notice when they were going to the theater, what the hell was that? You're putting the pieces together. Holy crap. Kal-El came to Earth the same night that his parents got gunned down. That's really odd coincidence.
Even if there's like this really great flashback to like his mother, like it's just like a meteor shower, and his mother's like, it's a shooting star, Bruce, make a wish, and that star he's wishing on is Superman.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Yeah. So just a little subtle, wow, that's weird, that's an odd twist on the origin. Could work, maybe it won't. I like it. This is my world, Bob Ross. I'm doing it. So
I'm gonna put that in a rap song.
Let me go ahead and continue with the Batman movie. In my Batman movie, he has already started. He's established. Nightwing already exists.
Ooh.
Jason is already dead.
Ooh.
The main villain of this movie, wait for it.
Deathstroke.
No.
Oh, fuck.
Victor Zsasz.
Oh, yeah. Why the fuck did I not have Victor Zsasz in there?
But this Victor Zsasz, like, I've always wanted a Batman that was hunting a serial killer.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're not going to give us Gotham Victor Zsasz,
no,
I hope.
This Victor Zsasz is like a threat. Like, he is...
That Victor Zsasz.
He is just, horrible. Like, he just murders viciously. I need to change him a little bit. He needs to be a physical threat as well. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, but at the same time, I kind of just want him to be like he's maybe he's just that much smarter than most of the grunts that Batman fights. Like, he just can't catch him. Like, he's just 2 steps behind him all the time. Anyways, it's like a murder mystery type thing. So it's going to be, something different. Like, it's going to be Victor Zsasz, blah, 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 blah.
I always, like, one of my favorite things about Zsasz is that, like, that Zsasz from Gotham, he is very smart, I guess. Yeah. But I do like you said, I want him to be, I like the serial killer. He's delusional. He thinks he's saving people. And to me,
and he will cut the numbers into his flesh, and that's gonna be like when you're introduced to this Zsasz, you're gonna see like somebody dead, and you're just gonna be seeing somebody cutting. I
would totally do a movie like that, with Zsasz, and I love that you just gave me like a spark of awesomeness. That's such a good idea. So, I would just pair him with Pig, because I think Pig is.
I almost thought about it, but I was like, I want it to be focused on one.
But you know what I mean? Just because killer. Like Zsasz being so delusional, I'd be like, if there was somebody like behind behind him or controlling him or has him on a leash, Pig would be really cool.
Gotcha. So yeah, like I said, but throughout the movie, it's gonna make it known like Batman's a decent way into his career. He's not old, but like I said, Nightwing already exists. We're kind of just like he's established.
Yeah, I dig that.
And Jason is dead, so that's gonna just be one of those like.
So he's not back or anything.
No, he's dead. Yeah. He's just gone. It's gonna be a lot like from Under the Red Hood. Like he's gonna, if you remember the line in Under the Red Hood where he says, "My partner, my soldier, my fault," and I'll carry that with me like everything else. So it'll come up like it's like, oh crap, like he's my burden to bear. They'll do a little bit of backstory on that. Eventually, he catches Zsasz, doesn't kill him, so you might like that. He doesn't kill him.
Fuck yeah, he doesn't kill him.
He should, because he's terrible, but and there's pretty much that. Not too much, nothing too crazy on that. I just wanted it to be like a good detective style serial killer crime drama type thing. I think that'd be awesome. Moving forward, Wonder Woman, I would actually keep the same. And Aquaman, I'm going to keep the same, but only Ocean Master. No Black Manta.
Really?
None. 0.
I like Orm. Orm's cool.
You like Black Manta in the movie, or
it's pretty fucking racist, but yeah, I dig it.
I'm saving him for Aquaman too.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying I felt like they did him a disservice in this Aquaman because I feel like he
in the first one.
He was more like a side.
Yeah,
thing.
but 100%.
But he'll come back.
I agree with you. I think they set him up perfectly. Though I loved that. Yeah. I loved that we got an origin. And they were like, all right, how can we do an origin, but also not drag out an origin? They're like, 5-minute origin, go.
Yeah. I love that scene where he's like doing the helmet and it starts charging. He's like, oh God. Yeah. Just jumps out of the way.
And that was the guy who played the scientist. That was that funny actor who did Kim Jong-il in the Interview.
Yeah, he's the guy that plays Jim when they trick Jim. Dwight.
Yeah, he's so God. I can't wait to see him in the next one. Yeah.
So, but yeah, Wonder Woman about the same gist. Aquaman about the same, but just focus on his origin, and it's just Ocean Master, things like that. So here's the thing: I didn't really go out of my way to flesh out how they've all crossed paths at this point.
Right.
So. You're just going to have to deal with this. Justice League 1 is the next movie. So at this point, you've got Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, right? 4 of them.
That's fine.
That's it. There's only 4. Somehow they all know each other. Whatever. Or in the Justice League movie, they'll
So we only have people we've been introduced to so far.
It.
Okay.
That's it. Just those 4.
So while I went maximum, you're like, I'm going to go minimalist.
A little bit. I told you I have like this grand vision that I don't think I executed very well, but I'll try. Justice League 1, main villain, Brainiac. So remember when he said, the metallic organism didn't kill the Kryptonian. He's coming to finish the job.
Dope.
Brainiac proves to be quite a formidable foe. No surprise there. So we're going to introduce Green Lantern in Justice League 1. The reason being is because when Brainiac comes into Earth, he's entering, obviously, Hal Jordan's sector. So he's like, whoa, what the hell is this?
Okay.
And then he comes and blah, 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 introduce Green Lantern. Again, I didn't get into super detail. I just wanted to just kind of, those were some of the main points. But here's my big thing at the end of Justice League. Once everything, they defeat Brainiac. It just is what it is. They beat him. But at the end of the movie, Alfred calls Bruce, like, hey, we won, we saved the day, everything's good. And they're in some different location from Gotham, of course. So Alfred calls Bruce, and he says, there's been a murder in Gotham. And he's like, okay. He's like, it's the Mad Hatter. Mad Hatter was killed. And one of your Wayne Tech computers got just the slightest image of who was at the scene. And all you see is just a person in a mask, like a helmet-style mask. So he goes, that's got to be Slade. To the keen eye, it doesn't really look like Slade, because Slade doesn't wear a brown leather jacket.
Oh my
Who is
God.
it, Matt?
More on that later.
To be continued.
So, and how could Batman be so naive, except he doesn't know anyone else that wears that style helmet, that has the skills to kill somebody like Mad Hatter that easily.
I'm at a loss. I have no idea who it could be. I'm
Don't know who it could be. You will find out, not in the next movie, because it's Green Lantern.
Fuck. All right, what does Green Lantern do?
Green Lantern is a straight-up buddy cop, Guardians of the Galaxy style John and Hal movie. It's all about John Stewart and Hal Jordan.
I had that same kind of like idea at first.
I just think it's a great idea.
I'm happy with what I came up with initially, but I agree with you. Like, that seems perfect, right?
Yep. And in my movie, at the end, they are both Green Lanterns by the end.
So that's
of
just
this
what I
film.
want to know.
Yeah.
That's the only question I have, because I couldn't come up with it. How do you introduce them both? So you already introduced Hal in some capacity. Mm-hmm. How do you introduce John, and how do you make him a Green Lantern?
I'm gonna make it as simple as I was gonna make it real cheesy. I'm gonna change it up. They were both in the Air Force together. They knew each other. This Hal doesn't like stay away from Earth for years and years and years. He comes back.
Right.
And he mingles and blah 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 blah. They're basically just going to determine that John Stewart is just as qualified as a candidate as Hal Jordan, essentially. And I don't know, maybe the ring will split in two, and it'll be interesting because they're both lanterns from the same ring.
Ooh, I like it.
So it's going to be something like somehow Hal actually got into some serious trouble, and then John, not having any power, somehow risked his own life to save him.
Right.
And then the ring determined he was worthy and splits, and they're both Green Lanterns.
Fuck yeah.
Interesting enough, though, going forward, I may have to figure out a way that only one of them at a time is involved in, like, Justice League-style battles, if you know what I mean. Because I feel like I don't know if I want two.
Yeah.
Except for maybe towards the end of my
Is John
saga.
still an architect?
No.
Not
No.
even
In this version, it's going to be super simple like Captain Marvel.
Not even like for the Air Force. He wasn't like.
No, like they were both pilots.
And they were just like friends or nothing.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't put a lot of thought into this. But that's the one that, like the rest of them, I want to be pretty serious.
Right.
I want this one to be fun. Like, I want this to be the fun movie.
Right.
Okay, so after Green Lantern, I think at this point, this is where the order I had to really decide what I wanted to do here. Yeah, you know what? Whatever. It's my rules. I'm going to do Batman 2 here. Because since Batman 1, I had Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Justice League, Green Lantern. So there's been 4 movies in between.
So what happens in Batman 2? Wait, you gave us Batman 2 already.
No, I've only given you Batman 1.
Oh, that's right. That was the end. What happens
It
in
was
Batman 2?
so good that... No, the end of Justice League is where...
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
What happens in Batman 2, Matt?
Well, skip to the beginning of Batman 2. Remember that photo that Alfred sent Bruce?
I haven't stopped thinking about it since you mentioned it.
The beginning of this movie shows Batman at the scene of the crime. How did he get there so fast?
What did he find?
It doesn't matter. What he finds is a crime scene because there was a murder. But as he is there, He investigates. It does look like the work of Slade Wilson. Nobody is this skilled.
Yeah.
He was killed so just, killed.
It had to have been Slade.
It
I
had
don't know
to
who
have
it
been
could
Slade. My notes even say assumed to be Slade.
Assumed, but that's leading me to believe it was somebody else.
Yeah, well, we don't know for sure. So what does Batman do?
I don't think it's possible.
He goes to track down Slade Wilson.
Right.
Here's where it gets fun. Slade is in, South Africa doing a job. Guess who shows up in Batman gear and kicks the shit out of him?
I like the idea that Slade's just in Africa doing...
Yeah, he's just off doing Slade Wilson stuff.
He's not even that. He's doing, humanitarian work. He's, rebuilding a fucking school for kids.
I'm working for the military.
It's like, what are you doing? I'm building a hospital over here.
Yeah, but this is where it gets kind of cool, because Batman's going on a road trip. So he's going to go track down Slade. He's going to kick his ass. It's going to be an epic fight. This is everything I've ever dreamed of.
I think that the only possible scoring choice you can have for this fight scene is to have girls just want to have fun while they're fighting each other.
No,
in South
actually,
Africa.
what I want is Jim Carrey from The Cable Guy when they're at medieval times, where he's going... That's what they fight to. My rules, my world. So anyways, epic fight. Slade Wilson, Batman, duking it out. It's actually pretty back and forth until Batman gets the upper hand with some sort of something. And then he says, why did you kill the Mad Hatter? And then Slade's like, what? He's like, why did you kill the Mad Hatter?
Okay, so Christian Bale is back as your
And then
Batman.
Slade's he pops his mask up. He's like, no, seriously, what? He's like, oh, sorry. Why'd you kill Mad Hatter? And he goes, I did. And he goes, yeah, you did. Your prints were at the scene. Yeah, I forgot to say that. His prints were at the scene.
Oh.
That's how he knew it was Slade.
So it had to have been Slade.
It had to have been
It
Slade.
can only be.
I didn't do it.
Only one.
When was he killed? 2 nights ago. How'd you get here so fast? Batplane. I wasn't there. I was in Uganda. And he was like, oh, shit. It wasn't Slade. What the hell is going on? Bring. Sir, there's been another murder.
Oh, my God. Who's dead this time?
Harvey Dent.
Harvey Dent?
Dun, dun, dun.
You killed the Dent man?
Jeez.
You killed the man of the many faces?
Not only him, but his whole crew.
What?
Dead. Sir, there's been a massacre.
All of their...
Harvey Dent and his whole crew.
This is all of your lieutenants.
Dead.
I did this in 2 hours.
Oh, somebody's starting to put things together.
Imagine what I can do in an entire evening.
We're talking about Taskmaster? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about Taskmaster.
Yeah, no. He's getting it. So he's at an impasse.
That's just my favorite line.
He realizes Slade is not the perpetrator, but he still puts him in bat cuffs, and
Right.
That's that. So, interesting enough, I'm going to steal something like what you said. Raish is involved. I
What?
don't know how, but Raish Al Ghul is involved.
Somehow.
As always, yeah.
And things start to be said. I know that you lost something, and I tried to return it to you.
Did he lose the keys to the bat plane? Can he not get back from Uganda?
You lost your son, and I tried to return him to you.
He's talking about Jason.
But at the same time, Bruce, I want to see if something sticks out to you, because he's so angry by what Raish is saying, he's not going to let this... He wouldn't know what this next line, the importance this holds. Raish wants him to take over the League of Shadows or Assassins, depending on your preference.
Uh-huh.
Or, be known as the heir to the demon.
Right.
That's weird. That was brought up earlier.
Right.
Strange. More on that later.
But wait, what's sticking out from Raish Al Ghul? What you said, I want to know if something sticks out to you.
Oh, when he says, I want you to be the heir of the demon.
Oh, I thought you meant a boner.
No. It is immortal, though. So, I don't know. I'm kind of out of steam here. So basically, it's Jason Todd. He's been killing everybody.
My storytelling prowess.
It's Red Hood. This is my Under the Red Hood movie.
Fuck yeah.
And I'm real excited about it. And I want
What?
that not to happen.
What was
I
that?
want Jason to be just nasty. So I wanted him to take out some big players.
Right.
Doesn't necessarily have to be Harvey Dent and Mad Hatter. Yes. That's who I want it to be.
Fair enough. They're dead.
They're dead. So he figures out it's Jason, kind of similar to Red Hood, like you said. A lot of that was perfect. Don't want to change a lot of it.
Right.
So their finale fight is going to be almost exactly the same. Just take out the Joker. He's not involved.
What?
Yeah. He's mentioned, of course, because
Right.
how did Jason die? That
Right.
didn't change. So, like you said, too, flashback of getting the crap killed out of him by a crowbar.
Right.
But their fight, it's going to go down literally the same. Like, Jason's going to get the upper hand. He's going to be beating up Batman. He's going to be, I'm better than you ever were, blah, blah, blah. Batman's going to kick the hell out of him, and then he's going to win.
Right.
And Jason's going to blow up a building, and he's going to escape. Never to be seen again for the rest of the movie, but that was the end, so it wasn't much left to see. Yeah. So there's that. A little complicated.
Nice.
Next will be Flash. Typical origin flick. Reverse Flash. That's the only notes I have.
I like it. I like just that idea so much.
Yeah,
It
like
just makes sense.
I love Eobard Thawne and
Yeah.
that. So next, Wonder Woman 2, Aquaman 2. I like the idea of Wonder Woman fighting Cheetah in the sequel. I'm keeping that.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's gonna be
I
the
just,
same.
you know what's bugging me about that? Just to interject, we haven't seen a single picture.
Yeah,
or
I'm
idea, and I
scared.
just want to know what Kristen, because it's Kristen Wiig, and she's
Yeah.
an amazing comedian. But I don't know if I want a funny cheetah, and I just want to see at least if the costume design is good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows?
So anyways, we got that. Wonder Woman 2, Cheetah. It will be set in present day, not in 1984.
Thank God.
So
Nice,
there you go.
nice.
Then there's Aquaman 2. This one's going to be dedicated to Black Manta, whole movie.
Right.
And he's also not going to be killed off or anything. Which leads us, there's going to be more interactions throughout, blah, 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 blah. The only other member of the Justice League that got introduced was the Flash. So now we're up to GL, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman.
Right.
5, 6. Yeah, 5, 6. Those many members. So we're going into Justice League 2. At this point, my first note is actually gonna fight Darkseid. It's gonna happen.
Right. Fair enough.
He's putting stuff together. It's gonna be determined in this movie that Darkseid actually destroyed Krypton.
Ooh.
And you're gonna find out that he destroyed Krypton after the Mother Box gave him that vision.
That's super interesting that you do that. Only because I feel like these last couple years has been like the last 3 years has been we're gonna write different stories where different people kill Krypton, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like currently in the Superman book right now, Brian Michael Bendis just introduced Rogol Zar, who is now said to have destroyed he destroyed Krypton.
Mm-hmm.
Previously it was like Brainiac, and then previously it was Krypton itself. My favorite iteration is just the fact that Krypton, because it's so relevant, right, to today's society and like climate change and whatnot, it's just that Krypton was its own downfall because it wasn't smart enough to look at what it was doing to its own planet. Mm-hmm. And I kind of love that. But I also like where you're going, because I like that they've been toying around with this idea of like Brainiac did it in the Injustice universe. It was Brainiac and his, and then again Rogol Zar in the current Superman stuff. So I think it's really like interesting that we've had this origin of Superman for all these years, and we had one explanation, and it wasn't until recently that people are like, but what if it was just slightly this way? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yep. So yeah, that's going to be the thing here. So in the story, it's actually going to be shown that he destroyed Krypton right after the Mother Box gave him that vision, or that guidance from the very beginning of Superman. So he's been under the impression that not a single Kryptonian exists this whole time. Like, he's just, that's it. So yeah, so they're fighting. Darkseid has obviously figured out that what she was talking about was Superman and Batman.
Right.
So he's going to kill them all. Mine's going to be different because the heroes are not enough to defeat Darkseid. So they're going to team up with the villains. So there's going to be Deathstroke. They're going to team up with Manta.
Right.
Lex will be introduced probably here. He's going to just be involved. They're going to overcome, and I don't know how to do this, and this might be a little too crazy, but maybe you might get it. At some point in this movie, the Presence is going to be revealed.
No fucking way.
Yeah. And the Presence
Yeah.
is going to say that vision that was given to Darkseid, that was created, that Bruce and Clark were always meant to cross paths because they are gods among us.
Yeah.
Like Injustice.
Star-crossed lovers. I love it.
So basically they're saying that the fates determined that there needed to be gods among men, essentially, to save the universe. Something like that. And it's also going to be more like you were meant to cross paths because you would bring forth the Justice League.
Right.
It's not like it's just them alone, but those were the ones
Well, it's clandestine, yeah.
Yes, they had to make things
I'm
happen.
with you.
And that's about really all I got. Like I said, I'm not sure if that's really fleshed out well, but that's what I did in 8 minutes.
I think what's cool about this exercise is that we all had like really great points. We all had really great shit in there. Just so you guys at home know, we have 2 hours. We just hit 2 hours of this recording. We've been here for 4 hours somehow.
Yeah, so I got people falling asleep. And...
Yeah, I don't know how this is like. I don't know how this turned into a 4-hour venture. It doesn't usually happen like that, but I still loved it. I loved everything. I loved hearing what you guys had to say. I thought it was so much fun, and I loved it so much that I think we're gonna do another one. Tim, of course, you're always invited back, but. In a couple weeks, what do you not a couple weeks, maybe we'll give it like till next month or the month after. We have a lot of shit to do. But by the way, the show is moving to bi-weekly because of our schedules. Me and Matt have been talking about it, so we're going to do it every other week. But I figure in about a month we can do another the Bat in the Hat Writes, and I think the next one should be the Bat in the Hat Writes the X-Men and the Fantastic Four into the MCU.
Oof.
How to bring them in and what would make the most sense. What villains do you want to see?
Are we using the current MCU?
Oh, that one we are using the current MCU.
Thank God.
How are we going to bring in the X-Men and the Fantastic Four into this? So that's what I really want to do.
Sure.
Just because this has been such a fun exercise and a fun getting your creative writing juices flowing.
Oh, speaking of nothing at all, also, I think that's an excellent idea. I can't wait to do it. I hope everybody goes to see Spider-Man Far From Home.
Oh,
this week. I forgot.
I'm going on. Me and Matt are both going on Wednesday.
Yeah, this one comes out on Tuesday.
We're just and we're going to the same theater. We're just going to different showings. Yeah. So I'm going at 1:00. He's going at 7:30. Yep. And Tim, are you going to go see Far From Home?
Probably like this weekend, maybe next weekend.
Next weekend. Yeah, it comes out Tuesday. Who the fuck was like Spider-Man needs to be released on a Tuesday?
Well, it's summer and 4th of July.
Yeah.
So. But Tim, thank you for joining us, man. This was awesome. I had a great time.
Yeah, thank you for letting me be on here.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Don't ever come back.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. Please come back. Your story writing skills were way better than I wasn't saying I was expecting they were going to suck or anything. But
well, Matt's incredible talent is that Matt will. We have these ideas planned weeks ahead. And then it'll be like, I'll start writing it the night before the show. And then.
Well, this one kind of backfired. I wrote it while you were saying yours. And it shows. Like, mine was trash.
I can't lie. I procrastinated. We've just been, man, Matt, how busy we've been. We've been busy doing a lot of stuff.
I haven't really had anything going on.
It's been, well, fuck. I guess I've been busy trying to get the show together. And again, we're moving to YouTube.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff. Like, we're not even done for today. Like, we still. Tim's done. He's like,
Tim's
thank
about
God.
to go home. But we've just been busy. But we hope to bring you guys better content. And again, please just leave us a rating if you like the show. If not, tell us we suck. Just comment it on our Facebook page, the Bat in the Hat Podcast.
Absolutely. Comments, messages, we like it all.
Yeah, hit us up on Twitter at BatHatOfficial. Anybody got anything else they want to plug? Anything like that?
If Zack Snyder is listening to this, if you ever want to get back into superheroes, please listen to the fans. That's all I gotta say.
I thought he was about to. I thought he was
about to murder him.
I thought he was about to be like, if Zack Snyder's listening to this and you ever want to get back into superheroes, fucking don't.
I love it.
Well, that's cool.
Big thank you again to Tim for joining us on this episode.
Thank you, Tim, man. It's been a pleasure. And thank you, everybody who stuck through the entire 2 hours and 12 minutes of listening to this.
All of this material is trademarked and copyrighted and cannot be used or redistributed without the permission of the Bat in the Hat Podcast and Tim.
And express written consent from Major League Baseball.
Bye.
Good night, Matt's mom.
Goodbye.